Chapter 385. Some people were born carefree, grew up carefree, and grew up carefree, but they were still carefree. Some people came to this world with great difficulty. They worked hard in the first half of their lives and the second half of their lives. It seemed that no matter how hard they tried, they would not get any better. Were there some things that were already destined the moment you came to this world? Were some things unfair? No matter how you resisted, you could not erase the unfairness that had happened and would continue to affect you for the rest of your life. Poor psychological quality. Life was not only about the present, but also about poetry and the future. What **t was this? Even though these words themselves were not wrong, even though those who said these words, those who had suffered enough, were the most powerful and best proof of these words. But after all, they were only a minority. Even if these successful people were often exposed and often appeared in various reports, articles, and interviews, they were still a minority. Yes, the people who were interviewed and the people who said these words were all so-called successful examples. But there were tens of thousands of readers and viewers. Among these thousands of viewers and readers, how many could copy the way of success? Even if they believed that it was a psychological problem, even if they believed that there was poetry and the future in life. She didn't know. Zhao Ru didn't know how many people there were, but she knew that she didn't understand poetry and didn't see the future. So, she was one of the young people who couldn't do it. On this planet with more than 7 billion people, she was one of the people who couldn't do it. She knew that she had given up on herself. When she saw those students who had envied the life and environment of others, when she met those who were clearly blessed but didn't know what it was, they would rather degrade themselves just to have a piece of high-end clothing or a so-called limited edition sneaker. That's right, the world was just that unfair. Since it was like this, then please allow me to vent my anger. Anyway, you have abandoned me, right? It seemed that she had a dream from a long time ago. Vaguely, she felt that something was looking at her. She raised her head. All of a sudden, she raised her head from between her hands and knees. The house in the box was a little brighter than the space between her arms and knees, and the alley beyond the house was a little brighter. She found that her eyes couldn't adapt to the light, so her vision blurred for a moment, even though she knew that it wasn't very bright here. But in front of him was only a wall on the other side of the alley, and there was nothing that he could see. Perhaps it was just his imagination. To begin with, he had not been able to sleep well in the past few days. But at this moment, when her vision cleared, a young face peeked in. It was my Xiaojuan's face. He came back from school again. Zhao Ru could even hear Uncle Mai whispering, "Don't disturb me." But my Xiaojun didn't care too much. Grandpa always told him not to disturb the other uncles who lived here. "Sister Xiao Ru, today's mission is complete." "Really?" Zhao Ru nodded. She turned around and subconsciously reached for a bag. Inside was a squarish and very heavy object. However, her hand seemed to have been electrocuted, and she abruptly withdrew her hand. In the end, she didn't take out the object from the bag. Instead, she took out 2 crispy sharks and gave them to my Xiaojun. My Xiaojun tore off the first piece and ate it before dinner. At this time, Zhao Ru said, "You don't need to go tomorrow." "Ah." My Xiaojun was disappointed. "Why?" "I don't need it anymore." Zhao Ru said indifferently, "This is the last time." My Xiaojun thought that he wouldn't get such a reward from Sister Xiao Ru in the future. Fortunately, he didn't eat up the 2 sharks every day, but kept 1. These days, he had saved 7 sharks. Such a young child's life was like this. It was probably because of his grandpa's influence that he could make such a plan. But my Xiaojun didn't know that the so-called last time referred to more things. He didn't see Sister Xiao Ru again. After that night, when he woke up in the morning, as usual, he wanted to say hello to this big sister before going to school. However, there was nothing left in this paper box house. It was empty. Grandpa said something that my Xiaojun didn't understand. This is a place where people can stay, but also a place where they can't stay. If someone left, it was probably because it was time to leave. On the way to school, my Xiao Jun looked up at his grandpa. Grandpa, is Sister Xiao Ru going to find her family? Old Mai took out a crumpled cigarette from his pocket and glanced at the streets of the city. I don't know. Maybe she wants to make a decision. I still don't understand. Grandpa. However, she remembered that her grandpa would sometimes say these strange things. Whenever someone in the alley never came back, Grandpa would always say these strange things. Mai Xiaojun thought to himself that he would probably never see this big sister who would teach him homework and treat him to food, but would never smile again. 17:55 p.m. So this is the reason why he dressed as a girl. When the sun was about to set, Lin Feng checked the time and asked Sirma in a unit in the opposite building of a female high school student. This female high school student was the one who reported the case to the police and received a threatening letter. As Wang Yuechuan said, the female high school student was indeed safe. That was because she was now in the room of the unit that they had deployed. There was someone guarding outside the door, and a female police officer was accompanying her in the room. As for the female high school student's family, they were not at home, because they had been arranged to have dinner outside. Anyway, Ma Hao didn't know what tricks Wang Yuechuan had used to send Wang Yuechuan's family away. As long as he did that, it was fine. Don't ask so many questions. Pay attention to the surroundings and keep an eye on him. Once he shows up, take action immediately. Ma Hao patted Lin Feng on the back of his head. The young police officer shrugged and picked up the binoculars. He stared at a unit in the opposite building and couldn't help laughing. But Comrade Wang Yuechuan's dress is really good. Ha 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 ha. Sirma, there's still 3 hours before 9 o'clock. Do you want to have a look? Ha ha ha. What are you laughing at? Ma Hao patted Lin Feng on the head again and said, seriously, am I the kind of guy who likes to see a man dressed as a girl? Humph. Give me the binoculars. Comrade Lin Feng, I find that you are seriously not serious about your work. I don't trust you to monitor. I'll do it myself. Chapter 386. The cold wind has a letter. The autumn moon is boundless, blah blah blah. Don't get me wrong. Wang Yuechuan was not the type to sing this tune. It was just the sound of the TV coming from under his feet. To be exact, it came from the TV of a family below the rooftop where she was standing. Don't get me wrong. Comrade Wang Yuechuan was indeed in a woman's dress. His physique belonged to the thin type, but his body was covered by clothes, and his body fat percentage was very low. Looking from the back, Comrade Wang Yuechuan could be described as having long hair fluttering in the wind. Of course, he was much taller than the female high school student, but it didn't matter because she was now sitting on a small part of the wall of the rooftop. Below Wang Yuechuan was the street. It could be said that the space below his body was truly empty. Where are you, Xiao Ru? But Wang Yuechuan was not afraid of the height and place that only extreme sports players would choose. His eyes were like a falcon, looking at the small figure moving downstairs like an ant. And Wang Yuechuan squinted his eyes. Qiao Yu, I know you will come. 8. 2 asterisk 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 8:31 p.m. Zhao Ru lowered her head and walked down from a bus. It was still the rush hour in the city, so no one would pay attention to a woman walking with her head down. She would reach her destination after another street. She could even see the signboard on the rooftop of the destination among the many buildings. Zhao Ru looked around more carefully, and then quietly walked into an alley, getting closer to her destination. She was sure that no one had found her. She believed in her own eyes, far more than what she heard from others, even if it was from her relatives. But she didn't know that there were times when she couldn't see, for example, the black soul envoy that ordinary people couldn't see. Black soul number 18 was moving forward at the same speed, less than 1 meter behind the woman, and 2 meters above the ground. It was almost time for black soul number 18 to harvest the fruit. Even if humans could pry into their own hearts, they would always overlook their true thoughts. But she could sense human thoughts more clearly than humans. especially those who had fallen into the dreams of the past because of her. But Black Soul number 18 stopped at this moment. She didn't turn around. Instead, she said indifferently, Tisk, haven't you learned enough from last time? Do you still want to throw your life away? A half-baked magician. She followed Zhao Ru, but someone else also followed her, the man with glasses whom she called Dabbler. Chao Yu, all you did was break my mirror image magic, and you're already so proud of yourself. That's all there is to you. Is that so? Black Soul number 18 said indifferently and slowly turned around. But before she turned around, she flicked her finger and a black light flew into Zhao Ru's clothes. Zhao Ru didn't know what was going on. Black Soul number 18 completely blocked this movement, and Chao Yu was actually staring at her every move with rapt attention. He was not as relaxed as he made himself out to be. He was only using words to provoke the other party so that the other party would lose his cool due to anger and expose more of his weaknesses. Of course, Chao Yu didn't think that it would be so easy to make the other party reveal a flaw due to anger. However, doing something was better than doing nothing. It seems that you're well prepared this time. TSK, Tisk. Chao Yu smiled indifferently. I have to be careful. Black Soul number 18 said with interest. Oh, really? Let me guess. I don't need to verify anything. You came here directly with your real body, right? Chao Yu still said indifferently. You're the first one I met who could break my 4-star barrier. And you also defeated my mirror image magic. I don't think the same magic can defeat you, so I have to be careful. Black Soul number 18 gave out a gloomy laugh, like the sound of a knife scraping the glass. But it's not safe for you to come here personally. Chao Yu adjusted his glasses and nodded. You're right. Strictly speaking, it's not appropriate for me to do it myself. But you ignored one thing. Oh, I'd like to hear it. Chao Yu had been clasping his hands behind his back. At this moment, he clasped his hands together behind his back. However, his expression didn't change at all. You've forgotten that this woman is the hotbed I've chosen to nurture her. I know her better than anyone else. I can clearly see her pattern of action. Black Soul number 18 sneered disdainfully. Chao Yu wasn't in a hurry. He slowly finished his words. Since I know her purpose, I know her mode of action. Naturally, I also know what route she will choose to take tonight. For example, here. Black Soul number 18 looked around the alley, subconsciously. At the same time, Chao Yu opened his hands at this moment, squatting down quickly and pressing his hands on the ground. At this moment, 2 cyan circles, one big and one small, appeared rapidly under the feet of Black Soul number 18. On the walls of the alleyway to her left and behind, 6 different dim lights erupted from them. There were 6 lights on the left and right, making a total of 12 lights. They were all rapidly rotating crystals made of black water. They seemed to have been hidden in the walls earlier. 12 black crystals of the same size formed an icosahedron together, and Black Soul number 18 had fallen into this icosahedron space at this moment. You set an ambush. It was a sharp cry with anger, but Chao Yu didn't pay attention to it. He took a deep breath, and the magic power in his body was released crazily. After a while, Chao Yu exhaled and stood up slowly. The tetrahedron in front of him that wrapped around Black Soul number 18 also began to shrink slowly. Finally, it turned into a fist-sized icosahedron and slowly floated into Kai Su's palm. Chao Yu's footsteps seemed to be a little unstable. After shrinking the icosahedron, he directly leaned against the wall, as if he needed a rest. He lowered his head and looked at the black shadow in the icosahedron. When he saw that the other party was unable to break out of the icosahedron, he sneered. I spent 3 days to prepare the spell. How is it compared to the first-rate magician you mentioned? The black shadow in the icosahedron didn't pay attention to him and just quieted down. Chao Yu said indifferently, Don't worry, we have time to play. Now, I'm going to pick this fruit, that's about to ripen. Chow, you walked out of the alley quickly. 8:37 p.m. 8:50 p.m. Lin Feng took a look through the crack of the door. The female high school student and policewomen were still inside, but they didn't speak. He didn't continue to look, but glanced at his watch. There were only 10 minutes left before 9 o'clock. But at this moment, Sir Ma, who was holding a telescope by the window, suddenly raised his hand. Through the wireless microphone pinned on his collar, he said to all the policemen in the room, his colleagues who were ambushing in different positions on the street, and Wang Yuechuan, who was enjoying the cool breeze on the rooftop, all units pay attention. The target mission has appeared. I repeat, the target mission has appeared. Be ready to arrest. Long, who's the person next to you? Unexpectedly, Sir Ma's voice changed. The policeman called Long, who was hiding, was stunned. He looked out, but only saw the back of the man. I don't know, maybe he's a passerby. A passerby? Ma Howd frowned. He followed the man with the telescope, but could only see that the man lowered his head and couldn't see his face clearly. But this man walked ahead of Zhao Ru. If there was no accident, he would meet Zhao Ru face to face. Ma Howd had a strange premonition, but he didn't know what this premonition meant. Was he just a passerby? Or at this moment, the assistant at another ambush point also sent a message. Sir Ma, the target is about to enter the effective arrest range. There are still 10 meters left. How many seconds would it take to complete a 10-meter section at a normal pace? Chapter 387. Zhao Ru frowned, because in the pocket of her jacket, she felt something that she had no impression of. She didn't know where it came from. It was a black card. She was very clear about all the things she had, but she didn't know where this black card came from. Was it when she left the alley? Or earlier? Who put it in her pocket? She stopped because of the unknown, but she stopped in less than 10 minutes before 9 o'clock in the evening. The card to realize one's wish could be exchanged for a chance to realize one's wish. And the price was anything. As long as it was worth it, it could be the price. This was the thought that quietly emerged in her mind after she touched the black card. However, she quickly took another step forward. She planted the seeds and watered them constantly. Now it was time to harvest in less than half an hour. How could she let her doubts stop her? She needed to harvest the fruit. There was a huge hole in her heart. She knew that only this kind of fruit could temporarily fill the hole. The fruit of death. The fruit of happiness, but had to fall into despair. It was the fruit of all the regret and pain they felt before they died. Only by being there personally, only by seeing it with his own eyes, only by touching the moment when everything shattered in an instant, could the joy that came from the bottom of his heart fill the hole in his heart. She could even see the figure on the rooftop of the building. It was too high, so she couldn't see the figure clearly, but she knew who was sitting there. Panic, regret, self-blame, and despair. She seemed to have heard the crying of the girl on the rooftop. She couldn't control herself. She smiled slightly, waiting for the moment when the fruit was ripe. It was not the first time for her to enjoy that kind of sweetness and mellowness. Because it was not the first time, she knew how delicious it was. Yes or no, I'm very happy. Zhao Ru frowned subconsciously when she heard the words coming from the front. She knew that there was a man walking in front of her. In fact, she had to be more careful at this time. But she was sure that she had never seen this ordinary guy with glasses before. She had a good memory, really good. When she was caught for the first time in the police station, she almost remembered the faces of all the policemen she met along the way. The man was less than a step in front of her. He was on her left and was about to walk past her on her left. Moreover, the man didn't stop. Everything seemed so natural. But the man said the second sentence. It's a pity that the happy things will leave you in the end. You will never get it. Thank you for providing me with such excellent material. Zhao Ru's mind went blank when she heard the last sentence. She turned around subconsciously and watched the man disappear at the corner. She subconsciously reached for her chest, grabbing the black crystal pendant that could calm her down as usual. but she found that she couldn't grab it this time. Gone, 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 and a kind of pain began to spread from her body. Zhao Ru subconsciously touched her abdomen. Warm liquid was flowing from her body. She suddenly saw a bottomless abyss. Sir Ma, the target is strange. She stopped again. Motherf asterisk cur. Action. Action now. Find the man who just passed by and get him back. Ma Hao threw away the binoculars in his hand and pulled out his pistol. He hurriedly rushed downstairs with his men. However, the policemen who were waiting for them on the street had arrived in front of Zhao Ru earlier than them. Stop! Don't move! A total of policemen rushed out from the opposite side of the road and the shop next to it. They raised their guns at the same time and pointed at Zhao Ru. Surrender! But she didn't move, as if she had lost something. A police officer shook his head. The other police officer nodded and walked to Zhao Ru step by step. He took out the handcuffs. But when he put his hand on Zhao Ru's shoulder, the woman in front of him suddenly fell to the ground. When the policeman opened her coat, he found that there was a knife in her abdomen and the blood couldn't stop flowing. Damn! That man! How did he do that? After cursing angrily, the police officer rushed forward and chased after him from the corner. Ma Hao finally arrived with the other policeman. He finally caught Zhao Ru, but Ma Hao didn't smile. He didn't feel happy at all. Hold on. The ambulance will be here soon. Hold on. Officer Ma grabbed the hand of this woman, who was supposed to be in the prime of her life, and said, Hang in there. Tell me, who is the one who killed you? Who did it? However, the woman he was holding only opened her mouth and didn't say anything. She just looked at the sky, at the darkness above the city lights. It was as if everything she could see was black to begin with. She suddenly became cold. The hole in her heart seemed to become bigger and swallowed her. She slowly closed her eyes. This was the most desperate eyes Ma Hao had ever seen in his life. Sir Ma, we can't wait for the ambulance. Let's drive her to the hospital, a policeman suggested. Ma Hao nodded and ordered people to carry Zhao Ru into the car. After that, Ma Hao hit the guardrail on the sidewalk and said to the wireless radio, Did you catch up with that man? I'm sorry, Sir Ma. I can't find him. F asterisk CK. Ma Hao hit the guardrail again and said, Where is Wang Yuechuan? Wang Yuechuan. Wang Yuechuan. Sir Ma, Wang Yuechuan seems to have left the rooftop. We can't contact him. Sir Ma hit the guardrail for the third time and said angrily, F asterisk CKU. Desperation, desperation. It's good to be desperate. Chow Yu took off his glasses. He was more willing to take off his glasses to look at the situation. He looked at the black crystal pendant in his hand with a fascinated look. At this time he was leaning on a bus stop sign, and the necklace was lifted up by him, swinging freely from side to side in his line of sight. With this thing, he believed that his magic power could be further improved. He could also start to practice some of the spells in the ancient book that he hadn't used yet, right? Do you like desperation? Of course. The crystal pendant was still swinging in front of Chow Yu's eyes. He was so addicted to it that he didn't even think about the answer. But who would answer for him? Chow Yu furrowed his brows, but soon relaxed. He chuckled and took out the icosahedron, which was the size of a fist. So you still have the strength to speak? Not bad. I think I can refine you into a very good tool. You haven't answered me. Do you like desperation? Is it important? Chow Yu shook his head and suddenly said, But I want to change my mind. It's the first time for me to meet such a special, wandering soul like you. I think I need to study you carefully. Answer me, do you like desperation? Chow Yu didn't answer. He sneered and put the icosahedron on his clothes. But when it was about to be put away, Chow Yu felt something wrong. At this moment, a very faint sensation was spreading from the center of his palm. This icosahedron was splitting apart. Chow Yu's face changed slightly. He took it out again, but at this moment, It had been completely shattered and turned into countless dust. That black shadow was in front of him, as if she had never been trapped. You used illusion on me? Chow Yu narrowed his eyes. He was flustered, but didn't panic. He didn't arrange anything here. He made a mistake. He underestimated the power of this wandering soul again. He planned to confront her directly. He needed to find a chance to escape. Illusion, Black Soul number 18 said, contemptuously. Do you think you're qualified enough for me to use illusion on you? But your thing can't trap me at all. I just stay inside and let you do something for me. What did you say? Chow Yu frowned. Black Soul number 18 said indifferently, Stupid guy. Do you know? The real Black Soul envoy is good at taking advantage of the favorable conditions. Since you originally intended to push this woman into the abyss of despair, your goal is barely the same as mine. Why shouldn't I do it? Jia. Chow Yu didn't know what a Black Soul envoy was, but he instinctively felt the black shadow in front of him. He saw the ugly, witch-like face in the black robe and hat. His body suddenly couldn't move. The crystals that had just slipped out of his sleeves fell to the ground and bounced. This was the first time, ever since he had obtained the ancient book. This was the first time he felt that his strength was so insignificant. You. Who are you? You don't deserve to know. Black Soul number 18 came closer and stretched out her hand. It was a withered hand with fingers that looked like white bones. Her fingers scratched Chow Yu's face, and Black Soul number 18 said with a smile, But there's one thing I can tell you. That is, you're not the one who can pluck it. In this world, only one person has the qualification to pluck the beauty of everything in this world. My new master. Who the hell are you? Do you like desperation? The black shadow suddenly shrouded Chow Yu. In the emergency room of the hospital. Doctor, the patient's temperature is rising rapidly. Under the strong light, the doctor and the nurse were rushing to save the woman who had been stabbed in the abdomen. But at this moment, the nurse who was changing the blood suddenly stopped. It was not because she encountered something that made her stop, but because she didn't know that she had stopped. The doctor's movements also stopped, but his hands were still raised. The nurse who was looking at the data on the instrument also stopped. Everything in this place had stopped. Only those instruments were still working normally. Are you looking for me? Guest. On the operating table, Zhao Ru suddenly heard a voice. She slowly opened her eyes. She saw the dazzling spotlight on the operating table and a vague figure. She felt that someone gently held her palm. This gave her a magical power, and her vision became clear. But she also knew that her life was coming to an end, because before she woke up this time, she had already seen her entire life. Chapter 388. It was as if the concepts of time and space were completely separated here, in this small emergency room. The motionless person and the flowing time. Luoqiu let go of Zhao Ru's hand because she had enough time to talk with him. Miraculously, Zhao Ru was not too surprised by what happened in front of her. She opened her mouth slightly and quickly glanced at her surroundings. She looked at the doctors and nurses who were still standing in front of her and the wounds on her body. The clothes on this hideous wound had already been cut open. The wound on her abdomen was so deep, but she unexpectedly didn't feel any pain. The visual impact and the pain that should have been felt by the nerve endings of the body seemed to be perfectly separated at this moment. It's the black card, Zhao Ru said after a long silence. Luoqiu waved his hand to let the doctor with the scalpel move sideways. Then he sat on the edge of the bed. One of my employees gave it to you. As for this employee now. Speaking of this, Luoqiu suddenly paused and shook his head. Probably having a good time. Had a good time? Luoqiu said indifferently. It's just his personal interest. It has nothing to do with you. Zhao Ru didn't understand these. She just nodded subconsciously. But the masked man sitting in front of her gave her a feeling of calmness. How inconceivable. All these years, she had never had a moment of such peace and quiet like this. Even the pendant couldn't give her this kind of tranquility. It only gave her calmness and madness. Thinking of the crystal, Zhao Ru found that she didn't wear it. But it was different this time. She didn't feel uneasy without it. But she still did the habitual action of playing with the pendant in front of her chest. She suddenly realized many things and raised her head. This crystal! Did you? Luocio shook his head slightly. Maybe you were chosen, or maybe you just got it by chance. That thing you're carrying has a strange attraction to people with strong desires. Zhao Ru smiled bitterly, but no matter whether it was intentional or not, I still got it. Can I ask you a question? Go ahead. Zhao Ru took a deep breath. Why are there unfortunate people? What is the source of the unfairness in the world? Can I have my own opinion? Zhao Ru nodded subconsciously. Luocio thought for a while and said, In fact, I don't know what the source is. Even if I can get the answer from somewhere else, it's not my own answer. Even if I get the answer from someone who is like the truth, it's not my own answer. So there's no answer? Zhao Ru was stunned. She didn't understand. It's not that complicated. Luocio still shook his head. Well, why are there unfortunate people in the world? Because there are lucky people in the world. The more unfortunate people there are, the more fortunate people there are. Generally speaking, it's balanced. For example, we keep getting resources from nature. Countless resources are consumed over and over again. I'm afraid the resources will be completely used up one day. However, for this planet, its quality doesn't change. As far as we know, the things that have been consumed just continue to exist here in another form. You mean because of the existence of misfortune, we can create luck? Who knows? Luocio shook his head. Maybe it's just a wrong proposition. Zhao Ru became silent. She did not say anything, but time continued to pass. The second hand of the clock in the resuscitation room continued to move as if there was no end in sight. It's a bit strange. I can look at everything I've done calmly. Zhao Ru finally opened her mouth and looked at the club boss sitting beside her. There is a saying that death can also bring peace to people. Because he had already died once. After the merry-go-round, she had already experienced everything in her life. Now, she was just a bystander. Zhao Ru's eyes suddenly became softer. She wanted to be as gentle as her eyes at this moment, at the very beginning. Zhao Ru shook her head. But even if I die, the things I did wrong will not disappear. Just like what you said, it will only continue to exist in another form. My sins have turned into sorrow, and pain exists in the hearts of the victims forever and ever. Luocio didn't continue to speak. He just stayed with her and watched the second hand of the clock turn silently. I don't want to stay here anymore. Can you send me somewhere? Zhao Ru suddenly said, Where do you want to go? It seemed that no one had come here since she left. It was a simple single room with a kitchen, living room, bathroom, and even bedroom. But it was dusty. This was the place where she had lived for a long time. This small rented single room. She got down from the bed in the emergency room and walked barefoot into her home. I like the design here. Boss Luo looked at it and said with a smile, Just put some thought into it. Zhao Ru smiled. She suddenly walked to the only window and opened it. There was no beautiful scenery here. The old-fashioned low-rise buildings were completely blocked by the high-rise buildings due to the development of the city. For her, the only scenery here was probably the small potted plants hanging in front of the window. But they had dried up because they hadn't been watered for a long time. Only a small plate of gemstone flowers was left. It seemed that nothing had changed since she left. She looked at it silently for a long time. This place is more suitable for me. She turned around and looked at the man who brought her here. This place is small and simple. There is only 1 or 2 hours of sunshine in a day. But she gave a pale smile. But this place is more suitable for me. Luocio said, It's suitable for the former you. Zhao Ru shook her head. It's the same for me now. Boss Luo reminded her, it's almost time. After the protection time, you will return to your original state. Zhao Ru said, I have nothing but this soul with a hole. What can I buy? Boss Luo said, a relatively short life or some small wishes, and then some common things like wealth and wisdom. Of course, some interesting props can also be bought. Do you want to see the list of small items that are suitable for your current purchasing power? Chapter 389. All of a sudden, an extremely terrified voice rang out. It was a man's voice. It was a man with a pair of glasses who was leaning against the bus stop sign. It was as if he had seen the most terrifying thing in the world. He pressed his hands hard on his head and let out a roaring sound. Ah! Ah! Don't come here! Don't come here! The man squatted on the ground in horror. His face was pale and his body was trembling. Sir? Are you okay? Sir? A kind passerby came over and patted the man's shoulder, tentatively. Moreover, this place began to attract the attention of passers-by. After all, such a sudden scream was very scary. Sir, don't come here. Go away. Unexpectedly, the squatting man slapped the passerby's arm away. As if he had seen something even more terrible, he rolled and crawled out of the crowd. The man seemed to have lost his direction and ran amuck in the city, bumping into one passerby after another. She didn't know what he saw, but she could roughly guess from his twisted expression he seemed to be very scared. What happened here? People were still standing and curiously watching the strange man disappear. But the next moment another, strange-looking guy came from behind and grabbed one of the passers-by. He was wearing women's clothes. Although he had long hair, his voice was obviously very magnetic. It was a man's voice. A pervert in women's clothing? Say it. What happened? Just now there was a strange guy here. He seemed to be in a lot of pain. Then he ran over there. Did that guy wear glasses and have a mole at the corner of his eye? I didn't notice the mole, but he wore glasses. Hey, big brother, wait, do you want to take a picture? I don't mind if you wear women's clothes. But the weirdo in women's clothing had quickly run out of the crowd. The crowd began to disperse slowly. What happened here just now? But the kind passerby was actually put on his shoulder. Well, it was a middle-aged man with a big belly and a mustache. TSK, I thought there were women's clothes. What are you talking about? Police, let me ask you something. Did you see a man wearing women's clothes? In the dark alley, the man, Chow Yu, was hiding in a corner. His body was trembling even more. In front of his eyes, it was as if the entire world was filled with countless black shadows, even if, in reality, there was only one black shadow in front of him. The black shadow finally turned into a human figure wearing a black robe. Black Soul number 18 whispered in Chow Yu's ear with a pleasant laugh. There are so many rich people in this world. It doesn't matter if you're there or not. I like to torture magicians the most, especially watching you magicians in the abyss of despair, becoming crazier and more desperate. Kakik, go away. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Chow Yu covered his ears with all his might, but that ear-piercing and terrifying laughter still rang clearly in his mind. In order to get rid of the torture brought about by this kind of laughter, Chow Yu suddenly clenched his teeth and crazily jabbed his fingers into his own ears, destroying his own eardrums. He instinctively of God of you, of black of you think you can't hear it? No, you will hear it more clearly. You will not only hear it, but also see more. But he could still hear the laughter, clearly. Black Soul number 18's ugly face suddenly showed a twisted smile. Magician, is it painful? Is it despair? It's not even 1/10,000th of what I suffered before. I swear, I will kill all the magicians I meet. You could have lived for a while. If you ran away during the working period, I might not be able to catch up with you temporarily due to the task. But you sent yourself to me, so don't blame me, haha. Stop laughing. He was on the verge of mental collapse. The only thing he could think of was to get rid of this nightmare. He was even willing to pay everything for it. Oh, what a strong desire to make a deal, haha. Black soul number 18 shook her head. What a pity. I have countless achievements, but I have never taken a vacation. I used all my achievements to strengthen my ability. Isolation. As long as I want, as long as you are weaker than me. You're not qualified to enter the club, haha. You can only die in despair. Don't worry, I will love you well. Madman. You are a madman. I will show you something more desperate. Magician, are you ready? Ha! I won't let you succeed. Ah! Chow Yu sneered. Although he was desperate, he could still think. He knew that he couldn't escape from the hands of this demon-like old witch, and he didn't want to continue to bear the horrible despair. At the same time, he didn't want to satisfy her. He chose to commit suicide. A knife accurately pierced into his heart. As blood flowed out, Chow Yu sneered. I won't let you do as you wish, Black Soul number 18 sneered. Stupid magician, do you think you are really dead when your body is dead? Look at what this is. Black Soul number 18 gently opened her black robe. There was no body in the robe. Instead, there were countless distorted and despairing faces. Chow Yu leaned weakly against the wall and slowly slid down. The place where his heart had been stabbed continued to bleed. His life was also rapidly fading away. However, he knew what these faces that appeared in this black shadow's body represented. Souls. Souls. This terrifying and crazy old which had actually stored all the souls in her body, tormenting them every single day and night. They are all magicians. Chow Yu felt cold, and his eyelids were heavy. Correct, the only reward is... Black Soul number 18's eyes gave out a strange light. You will become one of them, haha. Black Soul number 18 put away her black robe and slowly walked to Chow Yu's side. She stretched out her hand and seemed to want to press his forehead. Don't move. Raise your weapon. Wang Yuechuan raised his gun and appeared less than 2 meters behind Black Soul number 18. Although there was not enough light here, he could see clearly the appearance of Chow Yu, who was lying on the ground, and the weird guy in a black robe in front of him. Even though he couldn't see the front of this black-robed fellow, it wasn't difficult for him to determine the situation in front of him. This black-robed fellow had probably just tortured this Chow Yu, the fellow he had been chasing for over a year, until he didn't even look human. Another reckless guy. Black Soul number 18 didn't look back. Behind her was just an ordinary human who was no threat to her. She didn't want to let people disturb her fun. I said, don't move. Lie on the wall, do you hear me? Wang Yuechuan said indifferently, you can't escape. Arrest is not a good choice. Do you think you can deal with me with that thing in your hand? Stupid human. Black Soul number 18 tilted her head slightly and waved her arm slowly. A purple light was forming in the palm hidden in the black robe. However, another set of footsteps soon came from the alley. It was a bit heavy, and it was accompanied by the sound of rapid breathing. Fuck, I finally found you. What happened here? It was none other than Officer Ma, who had been looking for them all the way here, panting as he ran in. When he saw the situation, he immediately pulled out his gun and pointed it at the black-robed man in front of him. F***CKME. What are you doing? Don't move. Don't move. I'm Ma Howd from the police station in this city. Now I want to arrest you. Okay, I won't move. Please don't be agitated. Sir Ma didn't know what happened here, but he didn't expect that the guy in a black robe would be so obedient. Moreover, the figure sounded like an old woman. Not only Ma Howd, but also Wang Yuechuan was very surprised. The reaction of this weird guy in a black robe was like two different people. The guy really raised his hand as if he didn't resist. Black Soul number 18 had to compromise. She was the only Black Soul envoy who was assigned to protect a deputy editor. She followed him every day and night. So how could she not know the identity of Sir Ma? She could ignore Wang Yuechuan. but she couldn't touch Mahoud casually. Black Soul number 18 glanced at Chow Yu indifferently. This guy couldn't be saved. Now it seemed that although she couldn't continue to extract his soul and torture him, forget it. She had already tortured him quite a bit. He wasn't an orthodox magician. He was just an unorthodox magician. She would just treat it as a fast food meal. Now you lie on the wall. Mahoud continued to roar at this moment. I'll do as you say. Black Soul number 18 answered indifferently and really did lie on the wall obediently. But at this moment, she suddenly flung her black robe. The robe flashed and something fell on the ground. With a loud bang, a large amount of smoke was emitted. Shit, it's a smoke bomb. Comrade Wang, don't shoot, in case of accidental injury. Comrade Wang. Don't shout, I'm here. Mahoud waved his arms hard and vaguely saw Wang Yuechuan squatting on the ground. When the smoke dispersed and the situation could be seen clearly, Sir Ma squatted on the ground and built a can from the ground. It was just a very ordinary Coke can. Shit, is this a smoke bomb? What kind of model is this? The latest technology? Sir Ma clearly remembered that this was what the old woman in a black robe threw on the ground. Mahoud shook the empty can in his hand hard. Was it really just a can? Officer Ma, call an ambulance right now. Wang Yuechuan said quickly. Mahoud looked at the man with a knife in his chest supported by Wang Yuechuan and nodded hurriedly. Chow Yu was dying, but there was a weird smile on his face, as if he was relieved. Chow Yu, you're Chow Yu, right? Answer me. Wang Yuechuan asked in a low voice. He clearly saw that the man with glasses in front of him was bleeding from both ears. It seemed that his eardrums were broken, but he didn't care too much. 1 year ago. Was it you? Tell me, what method did you use to lure those people to commit the crime? What's your purpose? Tell me. Chow Yu opened his eyelids a little. He couldn't hear Wang Yuechuan's words, but he could guess what Wang Yuechuan wanted to say. You still found me. Chow Yu's voice became even softer. Answer, answer, answer. You will become the next me will fall darkness will devour you. While saying this, Chow Yu slightly lowered his eyes and looked at his own body. Wang Yuechuan subconsciously touched the place where Chow Yu was looking at and instinctively reached out his hand to fumble in Chow Yu's clothes. He found a book. What do you mean? What's this? Tell me. Wang Yuechuan quivered. The moment he held the book, his heart suddenly jumped. Tell me. He shook Chow Yu's shoulder hard, but he didn't hear Chow Yu's voice anymore. He's dead. At this time, Mahoud squatted down, reaching out to feel Chow Yu's breath, and then felt Chow Yu's pulse, shaking his head helplessly. He's completely dead. Sir Ma also quivered at this time. He always felt that although this guy was dead, the smile on his face was so evil, as if he had done something bad before his death. The guardrail outside the alley was pulled up, and Chow Yu's body was still lying on the ground, waiting for the police to come to collect evidence. Sir Ma smoked a cigarette, and now walked to Wang Yuechuan's side. This guy had been chasing for more than a year, but he didn't expect that the result would be like this, so he probably felt very bad in his heart. Wang Yuechuan leaned against the wall of the alley like this. This is Chow Yu. His death is not clear. Mahoud used this as a topic, saying, who is that old woman? Why did she kill Chow Yu? Do you have any clue? Is there something that you haven't told me before? But Sir Ma didn't doubt it, because he didn't know such a strange old woman apart from Chow Yu. By the way, wouldn't it be eye-catching to run around in a black robe? He asked the people nearby, but they all said that they had no impression of it. I don't know who that person is. Wang Yuechuan shook his head. Maybe it's Chow Yu's enemy, and Chow Yu is obviously tortured. But I'm not sure. It's a pity that he's dead, or I'll definitely pry open his mouth and ask him clearly. Oh, Mahoud shrugged and suddenly curiously asked, What's this? The thing in Wang Yuechuan's hand seemed to be taken from Chow Yu's body, a thick-skinned book? I don't know. Wang Yuechuan shook his head, opening the book casually. Do you know this language? I know the 26 letters. Ma Hao took the book and looked at it. He said seriously, these are like earthworms. Give me some time. I know several university professors. I'd better do it myself. Wang Yuechuan took the book back indifferently and said indifferently. Sima shrugged. Originally, Wang Yuechuan was secretly investigating Chow Yu, and Sima was only in charge of Zhao Ru's case. Now that Zhao Ru was seriously injured and lying in the hospital, his work was considered finished. Finally, he could go home and drink his wife's soup. When Sima was thinking about this, his phone rang. Chapter 390. I need an explanation. In the hospital, Officer Ma rushed over and questioned the police officer who had sent the patient here but let her go. Wang Yuechuan and Lin Feng also came with him. Sir Ma, we don't know either. The police officer was at a loss. We saw the patient being sent to the emergency room with our own eyes. But not long after, the doctor came out and said the patient was gone. Ma Hao was stunned. He clapped his hands in the air. The patient in the emergency room disappeared. The police officer was also stunned. He also clapped his hands. The patient in the emergency room disappeared. Sir Ma waved his hands again. She flew away. The police officer also clapped his hands and nodded. She flew away. I'll fly your mother's balls. Why didn't you tell me that the woman was a ghost who could go through walls? Unexpectedly, the police officer panicked and said, Sir Ma, the emergency room is sealed. There are so many doctors and nurses here. The patient disappeared with a beep. The doctors and nurses couldn't see her at all. Could it be that there really was a ghost? Ma Hao's face suddenly darkened. I don't know if there was a ghost, but I know that you won't be sleeping tonight. Why? To find her. Idiot. Go find her. Ma Hao was furious and said, Inform everyone on duty, even the traffic police and the auxiliary police. Go and find him. Yes. Seeing the police officer running out in a panic, Ma Hao said, Wait, find the doctors and nurses in the emergency room. Separate them one by one and ask them for me. Ask them to death. There were new things every day, and the sun rose as usual. The people in the city began to welcome a new day as usual. Xiao Jun, have you packed your things? Uncle Mai called Mai Xiao Jun, who was brushing his teeth. Mai Xiao Jun was squatting in front of the canal in the alley, holding a cup of water. In fact, he was brushing his teeth. He mumbled, I'm done. Uncle Mai nodded and massaged his waist. He didn't sleep well last night. In the middle of the night, he seemed to hear the sound of sirens. It should be the traffic police passing by on motorcycles. In the middle of the night, there were actually traffic police patrolling nearby. Since when did the traffic police work so hard at that time? Uncle Mai shook his head. As usual, he held his grandson's hand and walked out of the alley. Along the way, they greeted some of the people who had woken up early. Excuse me, are you Uncle Mai? Suddenly, someone called out to him. Uncle Mai turned around and saw a young man dressed in ordinary clothes. But Uncle Mai had an indescribable feeling as if the world had become quieter with him standing there. Who are you? Uncle Mai frowned. He couldn't find anything related to this young man in his memory. The young man walked over and looked down at Mai Xiao Jun. He squatted down and smiled. You are Mai Xiao Jun. Mai Xiao Jun nodded. Big brother, who are you? Are you looking for my grandpa to collect garbage? The young man continued to smile. Maybe in the future, but not today. I'm here to give you two things. Give Xiao Jun something? Uncle Mai was stunned and frowned. Who are you? The young man stood up and looked at Uncle Mai. Well, Uncle Mai, I'm entrusted by a fund company to give something to your grandson. Fund company? Uncle Mai was even more confused. Yes, a newly established fund company. The young man handed a business card to Uncle Mai and said, Its purpose is to help children who can't afford to study to continue their studies. Fortunately, my Xiao Jun was one of the first batch of children supported by the fund company. Are you kidding? Uncle Mai frowned in confusion. Uncle Mai looked at the card. He didn't know whether it was real or not. He didn't believe that such a big pie would fall from the sky. He even began to doubt whether this guy was a swindler. But thinking about it, he was just an old man who didn't even have a place to live. How could he be swindled? No, the company has been legally registered. Because it's a fund company, it will grow gradually. The young man said indifferently, "If you don't believe me, please come to this address in half a month. The decoration should be finished by then. You just need to bring my Xiao Juan's birth certificate and school materials to the registration office. Then you can enjoy the help of the fund company." Really? Really? Uncle Mai opened his mouth and couldn't believe it. Because this kid is the lucky one. The young man said softly, "But if you want to enjoy the support of the fund company, you need to make a small request." "I don't have money." No. The young man chuckled. "You just need to promise that you won't use the money for the kid's study for any reason. You must ensure that he finishes his studies. Of course, you need to sign a contract. If the kid can't continue his studies due to natural causes, the fund company will investigate the responsibility of the guardian." "No problem." Uncle Mai nodded heavily. "Absolutely no problem." The young man continued, "The money for each term won't be much, but it will be enough for the kid's study." Uncle Mai nodded and said, "It's good enough to pay the tuition fee. After all, besides Xiao Jun, you have to pay the tuition fee for so many kids who can't afford to go to school. You're so nice." "I'm just here to tell you this." The young man shook his head. "The fund's employees are other people. Well, they're still recruiting. But it's not a problem." Uncle Mai didn't understand this. He just touched my Xiao Juan's head gently. He was not young anymore, and he was afraid of what would happen to this kid if he fell down one day. "This is another thing for you." The young man crouched down and gave a bag to my Xiao Jun. "I think you'll need it. Xiao Jun, don't take other people's things." Uncle Mai stared at him. My Xiao Jun didn't want to give it back, but he still gave it back without checking what was inside. Unexpectedly, the young man shook his head and said softly, "The person who asked me to give it to you also asked me to tell you something." The young man whispered to my Xiao Jun, "Don't eat too much crispy shark. Be careful of tooth decay, and one day you'll find your parents." My Xiao Jun raised his head. The young man had turned around and left. He was 2 steps away from the corner, but disappeared in 2 seconds. When my Xiao Jun casually took a few steps forward and arrived at this place, he could no longer see the person. Alas! Why did he run so fast? Uncle Mai scratched his head and murmured, "What he said just now, was it for fun?" The old man was still skeptical about the fund. How could there be such a good thing in the world? "Xiao Jun, what did he give you?" At this time, my Xiao Jun opened the bag and took out something. It was a dictionary, Xinhua dictionary. As the young man said, Uncle Mai didn't see him again after that. But when he was collecting garbage, he accidentally passed by the registration center and saw the name of a new fund on the screen. So he decided to go to the address at the appointed time. He took a look at the new sign that said where the registered fund company was located. He looked at the name of the fund on the business card given to him by the young man. This, Gem Flower Fund. "Dear guest, please look at this." Boss Luo put the documents in front of Zhao Ru. The contracts were very detailed and clear. The wealth was turned into a fund and entrusted to credit companies and regulatory agencies. It would develop year by year. This wealth would be passed down in the most effective form from generation to generation. Gem Flower Fund. Why use this name? Luocho looked at the small pot on the windowsill and said softly, "Dear guest, you didn't specify a name, so I gave it a name. Don't you like it?" No need. Zhao Ru shook her head slightly. It's okay. She suddenly coughed twice. The sharp pain from her abdomen almost engulfed all her nerve endings. But there was a smile on her face. She walked to the small table in the small cubicle and sat on the cushion on the floor. This was a simple dressing table, but just like the other decorations in the room, it was exquisite because of the owner's special intention. Zhao Ru began to comb her hair. This was the last time she combed her hair. She adjusted her collar, as usual, neatly. Then she spat on her lips and applied a light pink lipstick. Her face became paler, but she didn't apply any powder this time. She sat upright and looked at the mirror in front of her silently. The boss of the club appeared in the mirror. He appeared beside Zhao Ru. "What do you see?" She didn't see herself in the mirror. "Can't you see?" she said softly. "You see a lot of gem flowers that won't wither." So she closed her eyes slowly. Then she fell into the boss' arms. The light pink lips were decorated with a slight curve, and the color seemed to be brighter with a touch of sunshine. She said, "This place is small and simple, and there is only 1 or 2 hours of sunshine in a day." That was the time. Chapter 391. What? She was found in the rented house? In a cafe not far from the police station, sub-editor Rin, who was writing down Officer Ma's words in her notebook, raised her head and asked in astonishment. Sir Ma took a sip of coffee and said, "Yes, it was found by the owner. He said he was going to clean up the house and rent it out. But when he opened the door, he saw Zhao Ru's body. He was frightened." Ren Xiling bit the tip of the pen and thought for a while. "You said that after she mysteriously disappeared from the hospital's emergency room, she returned to her rented house? How could a seriously injured person run so far away? By taxi? Wouldn't the driver be suspicious? By walking? Could she walk so far?" Ma Hao shrugged. "I'm afraid it's a mystery." Ren Xiling nodded and suddenly asked, "What did she look like when she died? Did she leave anything? A suicide note?" Ma Hao shook his head. "Nothing. I entered the house once, and it was clean. When I went there again, it was still clean. She lay on the bed, quietly with a smile on her face. Except for that, I couldn't find any trace of her in the rented house." "I see," Ma Hao suddenly asked. "Madam, what are you going to write this time?" "What do you mean? The news? She hid a body in a rented house. She was a fugitive. All the headlines are talking about this." Ren Xiling shook her head. "I don't want to write." Ma Hao was stunned. Ren Xiling rolled her eyes. "If it's not something that she personally narrated, any speculation and discussion is a kind of slander. She's already dead. Why do you want to spend money on her? I still have a bit of conscience, okay?" Ma Hao shrugged. "Well, that's it. I'm going back to my office. It's not like before. I have to sneak out. There's a dead fish eye in my office." "You mean Wang Yuechuan," Ren Xiling nodded. "Why is such a big shot in the provincial bureau still here?" "You said he's a big shot. How do I know?" Sir Ma finally had a chance to roll his eyes. "Well, I'm leaving. I'll eat at your house next time." "Oh, okay." Ren Xiling didn't care. She lowered her head and packed her things, preparing to leave. But she saw that Ma Hao seemed to be in a hurry. Suddenly she thought, ***, he didn't give me the informant fee last time. No wonder he left so fast. So stingy. In a small meeting room in the office of an office, Wang was having a video call with a man. This was an old classmate of his who was currently studying for a doctorate in an Australian university. "Do you have a result?" Wang Yuechuan asked directly. "Yes, a little." The man on the other end of the video nodded. "According to the fragment you scanned for me, this should be an ancient Egyptian language. I tried to find someone to translate some of it. This is the content. Take a look." The man sent a picture of the translated text. Wang Yuechuan frowned and read, "The death of the body opens the door to eternal life for the soul." "What does this mean?" The man shrugged and said, "It's probably something like a religion or a spell. I'm not sure. By the way, what is this? I've known you for so long, but I've never seen you care so much." Wang Yuechuan shook his head and said, "It's just something left by a prisoner. I want to figure out its meaning." The man smiled and said, "You're still the same. If it's related to the case, you'll definitely fight to the death." "Well, my profession is not very relevant to interpretation, but I know a very good professor. His interpretation of ancient Egypt's civilization and history is quite unique. Contact information." "Don't rush. I haven't finished yet." The man shook his head and said helplessly, "The professor should be doing an academic exchange in Japan now. He hasn't come back yet. If necessary, I'll go directly," Wang Yuechuan said without hesitation. The man at a university in Australia was taken aback. Then he smiled. "You're really something. I'll send you the contact information later. Just tell him that I introduced him to you. Maybe he'll be interested in your stuff. And you don't have to meet him. Communication is so convenient now." In short, Wang Yuechuan soon got the contact information and tried to contact the professor in Japan. Qiangzi was a man who kept his promise. As he had said, if Fatty Zhang hadn't helped him in those days, he might still be doing things like stealing chickens, dogs, manhole covers, and cables. Therefore, he would try his best to do what Fatty Zhang asked him to do, as long as he could do it. Zhou Xiaoquan's younger brother, Zhou Xiaopeng, had been found according to the address Fatty Zhang gave him. That, "Mister, have I seen you before?" But Qiangzi's appearance was too swift and fierce. He had a tiger tattoo on his arm, which made Zhou Xiaopeng, an honest office worker, feel scared from the bottom of his heart. "Don't be afraid, Mr. Zhou, we're serious people." At this moment, Qiangzi took off his sunglasses and said with a smile, "Hello, are you Mr. Zhou Xiaopeng? You can call me Qiangzi." "Oh, no. Brother Qiangzi, what can I do for you? Take me to a person." Qiangzi directly explained, "A woman named Tao Xiaman." Zhou Xiaopeng gave a start. Wasn't this the woman his brother asked him to inquire about? Zhou Xiaopeng couldn't figure out the purpose of this brother Qiangzi. He glanced behind this brother Qiangzi quietly. This burly man arrived in a van, and as for the van, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 men in vests, either with tattoos or bald heads, with kind smiles on their faces. "Serious, my ass, that? Brother Qiangzi, what do you want to do with her?" Zhou Xiaopeng swallowed his saliva. "Oh, nothing. My boss wants to have sex with her." Qiangzi said casually, then he felt something was wrong. "No, my boss wants to see her." "Oh, wait. Do you want to have sex with her or see her?" Oh no, I almost forgot. I don't care. Anyway, just bring me to him." With that, Qiangzi grabbed Zhou Xiaopeng's arm and pulled him directly into the van. Zhou Xiaopeng subconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva the moment he entered the carriage and smelled the surging masculine scent in the air. "Oh, Brother Qiangzi, this guy's skin is very white. So, where are you serious?" "Be serious. What are you laughing at?" In the cabin, Taiyinzi stood proudly with his hands behind his back. In front of him, Fatty Zhang, Lai San, Fatty Zhang's other 2 brothers, and Zhou Xiaoquan were lined up in a row. Taiyinzi coughed twice and said seriously, "Since you all want to learn, this old man will casually teach you a few things. But remember, this sect is not allowed to casually accept disciples, and you all do not have this qualification. After you go out, you are not allowed to tell others that I am your master. Do you understand?" "Understood," everyone said in unison. Fatty Zhang nodded even more fiercely. It didn't matter if they recognized a master or not, as long as they could learn a few things. Taiyinzi nodded and said, "Since you all have served this old man well these past few days, I will give you some pointers. Listen well. What I am going to teach you is something that I have recently mastered. In the process of learning, you must concentrate and do not be distracted. You must achieve unity of mind and body without distraction." "Understood," everyone still said in unison. "Well, give me the item." Taiyinzi cleared his throat at this time. Zhou Xiaoquan saw this and brought a plate over. There was a white cloth on the plate. What was inside? This made Fatty Zhang and Lai San stretch their necks. At this time, Tae-Yinzi waved his hand and let Zhou Xiaoquan return to his original position. Then, he slowly lifted the white cloth on the plate. Everyone suddenly raised their voices and saw that the plate was finally lifted, and the item inside was officially revealed. Fatty Zhang was taken aback at once. He said subconsciously, "This pen? Apple? Pineapple?" "Yes." Chapter 392. Lunch? Oh, it's late. Let me see what I can eat nearby. Well, I'll find something to eat if I'm hungry. That's all. Don't you have an appointment today? I know. Tao Xiaomon hung up the phone and continued her pace. She walked in the city. As a photography enthusiast, it was rare for her to have such a holiday. How could she not fiddle with her DSLR? Time couldn't keep time, but photos could. Besides, she felt that she was in a bad mood recently. She was inexplicably irritable. She knew the reason clearly. Hobbies are activities that can make you forget some things. The camera turned to buildings and passers-by, sitting on an ordinary bus. She compared the city in her memory with the city she was in now. Things remained the same, but people had changed. This was probably the best way to describe her current mood. When the tour bus shouted the name of a stop, Tao Xiaomon got off the bus. But when she stopped at this place and looked at the name on the road sign, she hesitated unexpectedly. Jihua Road. Did she come back to this place? Tao Xiaomon shook her head. She lived here. Once. Only in this place could she be considered to be revisiting her old haunts, right? Tao Xiaomon didn't know why she started her pace again. But on this old road, the number of times she mentioned the DSLR could be counted on one hand. Although it was the place in her memory, it was completely different now. A large number of new buildings had appeared. However, there were very few places that could make her recall her memories. Tao Xiaomon stopped in front of a noodle restaurant. "Dad, I want to eat shaved noodles with lots of toppings." "Shaved noodles are shaved noodles. Toppings are toppings. How can you eat like this?" "I don't care, I want it." Okay. She laughed heartily. Tao Xiaomon remembered the conversation that happened here a long time ago. She seemed to see the scene of a little girl, hurriedly pulling her father into the restaurant. Sometimes she would think of a scene that she shouldn't think of. Tao Xiaomon suddenly felt that it was true that she was reminded of the past. But even so, she didn't want to go in. At least at this moment, her feet seemed to be pulled by something. This made it difficult for her to take a step forward. Maybe a photo would be better, she thought, silently grasping the lens of the camera. "Don't you want to go in?" Such a voice suddenly appeared behind her. Tao Xiaomon turned around, only to see a young man in casual clothes. He was younger than her, like a college student, about 20 years old. The door of this noodle restaurant was a little small. Tao Xiaomon didn't expect that this old noodle restaurant could survive until now. In fact, she wanted to say that she blocked his way in. "I'm sorry." Tao Xiaomon apologized and stepped aside. The young man nodded, smiled, and walked into the noodle house. When the young man walked in, Tao Xiaomon stepped forward as if something was pulling her. She also entered the noodle house and heard the conversation between the young man and the boss. Tao Xiaomon remembered the appearance of the boss, but his hair was white. "Little brother, you're here again. Is it the usual?" "Yes, sorry to trouble you, boss." "Okay, have a seat first. It'll be ready soon." The white-haired boss replied in a loud voice. Then he shouted towards the kitchen. "A bowl of topping noodles and a bowl of knife-shaved noodles." The toppings, noodles, toppings, and shaved noodles are all packed. Then the young man found a stool and sat down. Tao Xiaomon looked at this scene with interest. She rarely saw such a quiet young man. When he was waiting for time, he didn't play with his phone like the others. Instead, he took out a small book, opened it, and began to read. There was also a bookmark on the book. This was a habit that only a regular reader would have. "Why did you put the topping on the shaved noodles? Won't the topping noodles taste bad?" She sat down in front of the young man. This was a public cafeteria. But the business of this old noodle restaurant was not so good. It should be lunchtime now, but there were only 3 tables. The one that the young man was sitting on was already one of them. Is there a problem? The young man raised his head slightly and didn't seem to mind the abrupt question. Tao Xiaoman shook her head. No problem. I'm just curious because it's rare to see someone eat like that. Oh, sorry, I'm so rude. Hello, I'm Tao Xiaoman, a photography enthusiast. Hello. The young man nodded. Shouldn't he introduce himself at this time? But what made Tao Xiaoman feel interesting was that this young man's simple greeting seemed to be much better than his self-introduction. What should she say? It was just right. This was the only feeling Tao Xiaoman had when she thought about it. She asked, Do you come here often? The young man nodded. Recently. She asked, Do you live here? The young man shook his head. No. Tao Xiaoman smiled. You don't live here, but you came here to buy food. It seems that you like the food here. The young man responded with a smile. I'm actually buying for someone. Well, I made a friend recently. He often forgets to eat because of work. I'm afraid he can't stand it. Tao Xiaoman nodded. He's so lucky to have you as a friend. The young man didn't say anything, but slightly smiled. At this time, the boss of the noodle house came with 2 boxes. Well, here are your noodles. The young man simply paid and stood up. He glanced at Tao Xiaoman, whispering, No matter whether the noodles taste good or not, my friend will finish them. She just felt strange. Until the end of this short conversation, Tao Xiaoman still didn't know the young man's name. Of course, this was not a strange encounter, because she already had a fiancé who loved her, and she also loved him deeply. She just felt that this encounter was like a small episode, a quiet song in the metropolis. Hey, miss, what do you want to eat? But the owner of the noodle house was still standing there. Tao Xiaoman was too embarrassed to say no, since she had already sat down. She lowered her head and thought for a while, looking at the chopstick holder on the table. Give me a bowl of knife-shaved noodles and add the topping. Okay. After leaving the noodle house, Tao Xiaoman passed by the place where she used to live. She had an impulse to go up and have a look, but the passers-by on the street startled her. After a moment of shock, the impulse faded away, leaving only a trace of melancholy. She looked up one last time, took a deep breath, and walked toward the exit of the street. The knife-shaved noodles with toppings still tasted good, but this might be the last time she tasted it, because she didn't know whether this noodle house would still be there when she had the chance to pass by. Interestingly, when she was about to leave this old street, Tao Xiaoman met an acquaintance, her classmate, her desk mate in elementary school. Looking at her from a distance, she was a little fat now. It seemed that she got married at a young age. Tao Xiaoman watched her old classmate walking past a small stall selling ice cream with a child of 4 or 5 years old. Tao Xiaoman didn't recognize her, and she just watched her holding her son's hand and disappearing at the corner. Tao Xiaoman thought that she should go up and greet her, but some memories of her childhood were like shackles, locking her nostalgia in the old noodle house. Some hurt would probably last a lifetime. Time would eventually erase all traces of this old street, and at the same time her memory would be erased. She hoped so. Tao Xiaoman's trip to the old place ended here. But Tao Xiaoman didn't expect that she would encounter something unexpected today. Are you Tao Xiaoman? Chapter 393. What? Kidnapping. In the office of Officer Ma, out in the police station, the person who stood up from the chair and slammed his hands on the table was not Officer Ma himself. Yes, Sir Lin, he reported a kidnapping case. He said he saw it. Lin Feng frowned and glanced at Minesweeper on the computer, subconsciously. He finally understood why Sir Ma liked to play this game when he was here. It turned out that he couldn't stop. As for why the person playing Minesweeper here was Lin Feng instead of Mahoud, of course, it was because he hadn't accompanied his wife for so many days in a row. Officer Ma had applied for a vacation a day ago. Now, he was probably enjoying the sun with Mrs. Ma on a cruise ship, enjoying things like a swimming pool. So our Lin Feng was temporarily upgraded to Officer Lin. Officer Lin said seriously, "Where is she?" The policeman said, "Just outside." "Mr. Zhou Zihao, right?" Officer Lin looked at the young man in front of him. He was used to reading the information, no matter what he did. Overseas Chinese, graduated from a famous university. This time he came back to hold a wedding. Well, no problem. His fiancée was kidnapped. Well, no problem. No, there was a problem. "Mr. Zhou, please tell me what you saw at that time, okay?" Officer Lin asked seriously. Zhou Zihao nodded at this time, but his expression was still very anxious. Here's the thing. "I went to my fiancée's house at night and happened to see her downstairs. But at that time she was pulling a man. It was too far away, so I didn't hear what they said, but it seemed to be an argument. Then the man pulled my fiancée into a van. I wanted to catch up, but I was not familiar with the road here, so I didn't catch up. Until now, I couldn't contact my fiancée." "Do you remember the license plate?" Officer Lin nodded. Zhou Zihao hurriedly said, "I wrote down the license plate number and gave it to the policeman next to you." Officer Lin nodded and continued to ask, "You said that the man talked to her first and then pulled her into the car, right? Could it be someone you know?" "Oh, right. You came back to hold a wedding banquet. Could that man be your fiancée's ex-lover or something? Hatred born out of love?" "Sir, why don't you write romance novels since you are so smart?" Zhou Zihao frowned. "My fiancée and I met when we were in university. She has been living abroad since she was young and has only returned recently. Do you think your speculation is possible?" Officer Lin raised his third finger to salute the overseas elite under the table and smiled. "Will not ignore any suspicious direction. Please understand. Let's talk about your fiancée. You said that she just returned to the country. Could it be that something happened to her during this period of time? Has she been acting strangely recently?" "No, never." Zhou Zihao shook his head. "Then, have you received any messages from the bandits asking for ransom?" "No." Zhou Zihao paused and said in a more accurate way, "So far, no." At this time a policeman came in. "Officer Lin, the car has been found. According to the clues provided by Mr. Zhou, we found the owner and verified his identity. The owner's name is Long Chong, nicknamed Chong Zi. He has a lot of records and is now a contractor. This is Long Chong's photo. Mr. Zhou, is this the man?" Officer Lin handed the information to Zhou Zihao. Zhou Zihao hurriedly said, "Yes, officer, it's this man. He's the one who kidnapped my fiancée." Officer Lin patted the table and said in a deep voice, "What are you waiting for? Go to Long Chong's home now." The prison was in the suburbs. It would take at least more than an hour to drive from the nearest outer ring of the city. It was about 100 kilometers away. Chang Zi, who only wanted to finish Fatty Zhang's task as soon as possible, hurried out of the city. He wanted to catch up with the visiting time of the next day. Theoretically, the visiting of the prison was first come, first served. If he was late, he would have to wait for the whole afternoon. Obviously, this kind of waiting was very troublesome for Chang Zi. Originally, it was not a problem. Take this woman to the prison to see Fatty Zhang, then bring her back and finish it on the same day. No problem. Damn it. How do you work? How do you work? I asked you to fill up the gas. Where did you fill it? Foreman, I didn't know you were driving out of the city. You didn't tell me. How do I know there is no gas station here? Didn't I say I was going to the prison to see my boss? Chang Zi was stunned and rubbed his head hard. Really? Really? Shit. I forgot again. Chang Zi patted his head hard and then looked at both sides of the road. He had walked back and forth at least dozens of times, so he was very clear that there was not a single house for dozens of kilometers. What should we do now? The worker asked. How do I know? Chang Zi scratched his head and then opened the back of the van. He felt something was wrong. What? Shit, who made you do this? In the back seat of the van, Zhao Ru's hands and feet were tied with plastic tape and her mouth was glued with a piece of sealant. She was frightened with tears on her face. Well, Foreman, Didn't you say this woman was too noisy and wanted to shut her up? The worker shrugged. I used the tools in the van. Mother asterisk her. Hurry up and release him. Chang Zi hit the back of the worker's head hard. You make us look like bad guys. Then Chang Zi approached Tao Xiaoman with a smile. Well, miss, we mean no harm. My brothers are just a little rude. Please don't mind. I'll untie it for you. It may be a little painful. Please bear with it. Chang Zi stretched out his hand to tear off the tape on Tao Xiaoman's face. Unexpectedly, his palm was bitten hard. Chang Zi shouted in pain and instinctively pushed her away. Shit! You bit me. You'd better let me go now. Do you know what you're doing now? This is illegal kidnapping. Miss, I've already said that I'm only inviting you to meet my boss, Fatty Zhang. Chang Zi said painfully, Can't you just meet him? Don't worry, we'll pay you. Anyway, you're in this line of work. You're good, I'm good, we're all good, right? I don't know Fatty Zhang at all, and I'm not the one who does that kind of thing. Tao Xiaoman was really angry. This man suddenly appeared with a few burly men and inexplicably asked her to sleep with him. This was simply inexplicable. Chang Zi said casually, It doesn't matter whether you know him or not, as long as my boss knows you. My boss wants to sleep with you, can't you be quiet? The price is negotiable. Well, I know some ladies don't want to do this kind of business. But don't worry, you'll be satisfied with the pay. You just need to lie down in the couple's room and take off your pants. Then Chang Zi suddenly lowered his head and approached. Don't worry, my boss is actually a fast shooter and it won't take long. But don't tell anyone that I said that. Okay, we're all out to make a living, so we'll see each other all the time. Who knows? Maybe we'll bump into each other when we go to the spa one day. F***, it hurts. Don't bite my ear, don't ouch. Help. Kidnapping. Help. Kidnapping. Tao Xiaoman began to scream. Foreman, what should we do? I don't know. It hurts so much. Chang Zi kept rubbing his ear. It's bleeding. Was she born in the year of the dog in her previous life? Stop screaming. Seal her mouth first. Stick to it, stick to it. Help. Help. Woo, 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 woo. Finally, it was quiet. Chang Zi sighed and walked to a tree beside the road. He sat up and ordered, Well, bring some water over and help me wash my ears. Hey, what are you doing? Hurry up and call someone to send some gasoline over. Do you want to spend the night in the wilderness? Yes, foreman. Shit. Why are there so many mosquitoes here? Chang Zi patted the air. Why did he encounter so many troubles when he was just delivering the cannons to Fatty Zhang? Clap. At this moment, the sound of a slap appeared beside Chang Zi. Chang Zi was stunned and asked subconsciously, What are you doing here? Killing mosquitoes for you, foreman. I know, but do you need so many people to kill mosquitoes? Chang Zi slapped. 1, 2, 3. For why did you all come out? Foreman, there's no gasoline in the car and the air conditioner can't be turned on. It's very hot in the car, so we came out to get some fresh air. Chang Zi rolled his eyes and said, You all came down. Who's looking after that woman? The worker shrugged. She's tied up and can't run away. Don't worry. But foreman, this woman doesn't look like she's here to work. Could we have made a mistake? Chang Zi scratched his head, thinking of Tao Xiaoman's reaction along the way, and nodded subconsciously. I think it's a bit strange. Oh, I can't remember what my boss said that day. No, I have to make it clear. Then, Chang Zi walked towards the van parked on the road. But he didn't see Tao Xiaoman. The plastic strap on the back seat had been worn off. Apparently, it was worn off by the edge of the metal toolbox at the back of the car. Chapter 394. Boss, what are we going to do now? One of the workers spoke with a Sichuan accent. How would I know? Chang Zi scratched his head and pointed with his finger. You, and you, look around. The 4 big men started to look for the original path, but Chang Zi sat here alone. After all, he was a foreman. How could a person with status do such a disgraceful thing? **T, what a shitty place. I can't even find the convenience store. I'm so thirsty. Suddenly he heard a sound. It should be the sound of the phone vibrating. Changzi looked around the car and found a phone under the seat. The caller ID was Zaheo. Did that woman throw this here? Long Chong scratched his head and casually picked it up. Shaman! Shaman, are you there? Shaman! Shaman! Wait, what's your name? I'm not Shaman. Long Chong picks his nose. Who are you? You. Who are you? The voice on the other end of the phone was very anxious. I tell you, you can have whatever you want. But don't hurt Shaman. Otherwise, I'll kill you. What are you talking about? Changzi gave a start. What do you mean by hurting her? She hurts me. Mother asterisk her, I've seen blood. Oh, I know, you're her boyfriend, right? Yes, I'm her boyfriend. Zaheo said solemnly. If you have anything to say, just come at me. What's the point of bullying a woman? You're the bastard. Changzi snorted. I tell you, if you don't pay me for the medicine, I'll bite off your woman's ear. T. Who did know me? Brother Chong of Gentle Wind Mountain, when I came out to mingle. Okay, you can have whatever you want. Just say it. Don't be impulsive. Give me a price. Zaheo was frightened. Wait a minute. Changzi also remembered his phone at this moment. He covered Tao Xiaman's phone and picked up his own. Hey, Wudiazi, I asked you to get some gasoline. Where are you? Foreman. Boss Wong wants us to get some cement. He's in a hurry. Can you wait? CK. How long will that take? There's no other way. There's not enough cement at the construction site. It's not like you don't know that the construction team has been rushing us. All right, I'll think of something. That's it. Changzi frowned and closed his phone with a gloomy look. Then he picked up another phone. Hello, are you still there? I'm here, you tell me. How about this? Changzi said casually, go get a gasoline barrel. Fill it up and send it to me. The location is... Oh, the road to Chaoyun Prison on the Outer Ring Road. It's on the way. You can see me on the way. All right, I got it. When will it be delivered? Zaheo hurriedly asked. While looking at the van's rearview mirror, Changzi plucked his nose hairs and said, Do you still need to ask? Of course it had to be delivered right away. I don't want to continue staying in this damned place. I'm telling you, if you don't deliver it before dark, I'll teach you a lesson. I'll teach your woman a lesson. All right, before the sky turns dark then. But you said full. How much is it? What? Just fill it up. How much is there? Are you an idiot? But I'm asking you how much money you just said, the medical fee. I'll forget about it if you don't mention it. Changzi rubbed his ears and shook his head. Forget it. Just 1,000 or 100. Then, is it 1,000 or 100? How much is 100? Well, 800, good. Changzi didn't want to continue nagging. That's it, you send it over. Hurry up. I can wait, but my brothers can't wait. Beep. After hanging up the phone, Long Chong touched his ears and muttered, 800 for medical fee. Isn't it a bit too little? Oh, I don't care, I'll take a nap. Zaheo grasped the phone tightly and rushed to Officer Lin's office. Mr. Zhou, our men are arriving at Long Chong's house. We'll inform you as soon as we get the news. Calm down. Not this. Officer Lin, I just got the phone number of the kidnappers. Tell me about it. Officer Lin suddenly became serious. Zaheo nodded and said seriously, Officer, they said they are on the way to Chaoyun Prison. We'll see them on the way. Also, the ransom they asked for is 8 million. But it's strange, they said it should be packed in a gasoline barrel. A highway deal? 8 million? Officer Lin was stunned. What do these kidnappers want? Do they want to drive away immediately after getting the money? But isn't it too stupid to take a highway? Officer, it's not the time to think about whether they are stupid or not. But the safety of my fiancé, okay? Zaheo said in a low voice. The kidnapper said that he would bite off my fiancé's ear if we don't pay. Bite? Lin Feng nodded. It seems that these guys have potential violent tendencies. By the way, Mr. Zhou, do they know you called the police? I don't think so. Zhao tried hard to recall. He didn't ask, so I didn't tell him. Mr. Zhou, did the kidnapper ask you to deliver the ransom in person? I think so. He asked me to deliver it directly. Zhao nodded. Officer Lin walked back and forth in the office. Don't worry. Since the bandit leader made such a request so blatantly, he must be fully prepared. We need to think about it carefully. Zhao frowned. I don't care what you say. I'm going to the bank now. Mr. Zhou, we don't want this kind of behavior. It will only promote the crime. We can't condone these kidnappers. That's your business. But I only have one fiancé. I can earn back the money, but my lover is gone. Can you accompany me? Zhao glared at Lin Feng. He didn't care what Lin Feng said and turned around to make a phone call. Hello, is that Stephen? Do me a favor. 8 million in cash. Yes, I need it now. Finally, old Feng stopped. It wasn't because he needed to drink a mouthful of water, but because he stopped and slowly let out a sigh of relief. There was a satisfied smile on the old man's face. Is it finished? Luochio's voice came from behind Old Feng. Old Feng had been used to the company of Luochio. Luochio never got tired of listening to Luochio's stories. Luochio never asked too many questions. He was satisfied to listen to Luochio's story. As for Old Feng, this kind of confession didn't delay his work. Instead, it made his work less boring. It was as if he had the company of his boss, and his hands and feet were naturally nimble. What made Old Feng feel strange was that he was never this agile when he was young. It's not officially finished yet. Old Feng smiled. There are still many details to be cleaned up and some adjustments to be made. That's a lot of work. It's not easy to finish it in such a short time. Luochio bent down slightly, looking at the coat hanging on the page, and suddenly said, Sir, can I touch it? Ah. Old Feng gave a start and said, It's okay, feel free to touch it. Every stitch and thread here was embroidered with drops of time, condensing all the love a father had for his daughter. Every thread, every stitch, the pattern they weaved together contained a magnificence that no one could see. Luochio's fingers slowly moved over the threads. He closed his eyes. The thing he touched was so full. Sir, this is one of the few treasures I've seen. Luochio took back his fingers reluctantly. Old Feng smiled. For him, the wedding gown was also one of his works. Any craftsman would be happy to receive praise for their work. You know what? Old Feng lifted the gown slightly. I really want to let Xiaman try it right now. You can try to contact her. Luochio took out the phone. Call her with this. You don't have to look for a phone on the street. Don't worry, it will only show a strange number and no one can find the source. Old Feng took the phone with surprise. If it was someone else who said it, he would probably regard it as a bluff. But since it was this mysterious boss in front of him, he naturally believed it without a doubt. Hello, Mr. Zhou? Who are you? How is Xiaman? Is it you? I've prepared the ransom, and I'm on my way. Don't hurt her. Old Feng's face suddenly changed. Wait, I'm Master Zhou, the one who made the wedding gown for you. Did you misunderstand something? What do you mean by hurt and on my way? Master Zhou? It's you. Sorry, I'm too nervous. What ransom? No, nothing. Master Zhou, I'm busy now. I'll contact you when I have time. Hello? 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 Old Feng hurriedly dialed the number again, but the other side hung up immediately. Old Feng was so anxious that he subconsciously looked at the mysterious boss with a pale face. What happened to my daughter? Luochio waved his hand and turned his back. Under the mask, he slowly closed his eyes and frowned slightly. After a while, Luochio turned around and said with an apologetic voice, Sir, I think I know where your daughter is. At the same time, allow me to apologize in advance, because something unexpected has happened. What? Did you do something to my daughter? Old Fang's eyes suddenly became sharp. Chapter 395. My heart belongs to the moon, but the moon shines on the ditch. What a pity! What a pity! What a pity! Naturally, Fatty Jean was not the type of person who would say such sentimental words. Moreover, he was standing under the iron window with a gloomy look on his face. Plus, he didn't have a beard, but he still stroked his beard. In the whole Chaoyuan prison, there were only dozens of chief bosses. Sigh. I say, old Joe, what is my master doing? Fatty Jean looked at Zhou Xiaoquan from afar with his hands crossed, and gently touched Zhou Xiaoquan's shoulder, asking curiously. Reciting a poem. My brother is reciting a poem. Zhou Xiaoquan recited softly. My heart belongs to the moon, but the moon shines on the ditch. What a pity, what a pity. Shut up. Who doesn't know he is reciting a poem? I ask you what it means. Zhou Xiaoquan shrugged and said, the meaning of this sentence is that I like you, but you don't like me. But we know my brother's wife died long ago, and we associate it with his current situation. I think my brother is thinking about his daughter. Can't you just say it? Really? Fatty Jean rolled his eyes at Zhou Xiaoquan, and then rubbed his hands, walking behind the chief boss of dozens of cabins with a flattering smile, and respectfully called, Master! Don't call me master. I've already said that I won't accept any apprentices without the permission of my sect. Humph! Then Master Feng. Fatty Jean didn't mind and said with a smile, Master Feng, actually, you don't need to be unhappy. You will encounter something happy soon. What? Tianzi turned his head and looked at this. Fatty Jean confusedly. Unexpectedly, Fatty Jean blinked his eyes and said, Master Feng, have you forgotten what day it is today? Today. Today? What day? Yes, today. Fatty Jean said happily, Anyway, Master Feng, you don't need to thank me. Trust me, I've arranged everything. Was this guy mentally retarded, as Master often described him? Tei Inzi frowned. What do you want to say? What did you arrange? Hee. You'll know tomorrow. Fatty Jean chuckled and said, But you don't have to thank me. This is my filial piety to you. However, if you really want to thank me, there's nothing much to say. As for me, there's nothing good about me except for one word. Justice. Fatty Jean slapped hard on his own chest, snorted, and said, We're all out in the martial world, and loyalty is the most important thing. What's more, you're my future master. Your business is my business. What are you trying to say? Hee, secret. It's almost done. Fatty Jean patted the shoulder of the chief of dozens of cabins and said, Just wait for the prison guard to call your name. F*** King retard. Tianzi shook his head and sighed. He continued to look up at the iron window and recite his poem. When will I be able to get out of this damnable place? Calculating the time, Germanic Chariot was about to come here for a concert. I've already booked the tickets a month ago. Don't you think so? Strange. Why do I suddenly have a bad feeling? Tei Inzi even shivered. On the highway. Because this was the road to the prison, and it was a road in the middle of nowhere. Long Chong squatted on a tree for an hour and didn't see any other cars coming and going. F***CK, I've seen a ghost. Long Chong shook his head. At this time he heard the sound and stretched his neck to take a look. He saw his workers running back one after another. Where is she? Long Chong asked. Foreman, we've searched nearby, but we didn't find her. I don't know if that girl is hiding from us, but we just can't find her. F***CK. Now we lost her. Long Chong scratched his head and said, How do you think I'll explain it to her later? Foreman, what's wrong? Long Chong said helplessly, Here. That girl left her phone here when she ran away, and I picked it up when I heard it ringing. It's that girl's man. This guy's attitude isn't bad, so I asked him to send some gasoline over. Did he agree? Yes. Long Chong shrugged. He said he would pay me 800 yuan for the medical expenses. That's good, Foreman. Long Chong couldn't help knocking on the worker's head and said fiercely, F***CKU. I thought you could find her back. Now we don't know where she is. What do you want me to say when she comes? F***CK, speak of the devil. Suddenly, Tao Xiaoman's phone rang. Changzi panicked at once. Think. What should I say? What should I say? What should I say? The worker hurriedly thought of a way. Foreman, don't tell him that you lost her. Just tell him that he will see her when he comes. The most important thing is the gasoline. Only with gasoline can we drive the car away. It's too expensive to call a tow truck. As for the person, alas, such a big person, no problem. Who knows? Maybe he'll be hungry and run back here on his own. Well, that's reasonable. Long Chong nodded. Then I answer the phone. I really answer the phone. I really answer the phone. Answer it, foreman. Long Chong coughed. Hello? Yes, it's me. Where's the thing I want? Oh, did you bring it? That's good. The person? You'll see her when you come. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up. Long Chong poked the phone screen with his finger and said nervously, What do you think of my performance? The worker gave him a thumbs up. Cool. Long Chong smiled. Cool, right? Let me tell you, all the people I knew called me Brother Chong of Gentle Wind Mountain. You're so good at bluffing people. Officer Lin, we've tracked the signal of Tao Xiaoman's mobile phone. In a commercial vehicle parked at the exit of the Outer Ring Road, the police officer turned the laptop screen to Lin Feng, pointed out the geographical location of the signal and said, Our tracking of the signal is very smooth. The other party doesn't seem to have taken anti-tracking measures. Lin Feng nodded and then looked at Zhou Zihao, who was nervously hugging 2 big bags of cash. Officer Lin said solemnly, Mr. Zhou, since the kidnapper asked you to deliver the ransom, we can't do anything now. But don't worry, since we know where the signal was sent, I'll arrange the armed police and snipers to ambush you and protect you when you make the deal. But for the sake of safety, please wear a bulletproof vest. I know. Zhou Zihao nodded heavily. But Officer Lin, remember, the safety of my fiancé must be the first. The money is not important. Don't worry, we'll rescue the hostage safely. With that, Lin Feng got out of the car and said in a deep voice, Gather! Chapter 396. Not far from the left side of the road was a piece of muddy land covered with weeds, and further away was a river bank. On the other side, there was an undeveloped woodland. Reporting, target in black has been locked in position 1. Reporting, target in white has been locked in position 2. Reporting, target in position 3. Reporting a total of 5 targets have been found outside the van. All of them are male and have been locked onto. Sniper team, report complete. Reporting, assault team, ambush completed. After turning a corner, they could see the van after driving for a while. The police parked the surveillance car here, using the natural trees as a cover. Officer Lin listened to the news from the wireless microphone and ordered, What about the drone image? Officer Lin, the target image has been transmitted. Please look. So far, 5 men have been found empty hands. One of them is Long Chong. The situation in the van can't be determined yet. The hostages may be hidden in the van. Lin Feng nodded and tapped his finger on the screen. All units be on alert. The criminal may have hidden weapons in the car. Now prepare to carry out the rescue operation. Listen to my order. Remember, the first goal of this operation is to rescue the hostages, and the second is to catch the criminals alive. Try to injure them, but don't kill them unless absolutely necessary. Don't worry, Officer Lin. We are equipped with low-speed rubber bullets. After a series of orders, Officer Lin took a deep breath and put on his bulletproof vest. Then he and another policeman hid in Zhou Zihao's car. This kind of SUV had enough space, so Officer Lin and the other policeman hid in the back seat. Lin Feng said in a low voice, Mr. Zhou, if you see the criminals take out weapons or have any aggressive behavior, lie down immediately. I understand. Zhou Zihao took a deep breath and looked nervous. Officer Lin thought for a while and suddenly took out something. Just in case, take this. This is stun grenades. Stun grenades can't kill, but can make people dizzy and blind. It's very simple. Just pull the pin and throw it out. But remember to close your eyes and cover your ears as much as possible. Zhou Zihao calmed down and took it gently. Lin Feng said seriously, "Then let's move." "I say, Foreman, will the person you mentioned really come? What time is it? Will we be stood up?" This girl was a prostitute. Would her man be trustworthy? Why don't I make a call and ask if the cement is finished? How would I know? Chang Zi fanned himself with his palm. But it's good to see if the cement is finished. The construction site is really urgent. Oh, a car is coming. Let's go and see if it is. Long Chang waved his hand and stood up with a group of workers who were squatting on the side of the road. A black SUV began to slow down and finally stopped 3 meters away from the van. Long Chang and the others watched as a refined young man got out of the car nervously. "Foreman, look at this gigolo. The car he drives is really good." The worker commented in a low voice. His clothes also look good. "From what I see, this girl must have given this pretty boy a lot of money." "Bah, you're a freeloader." Another worker spat. All right. Why do you care so much about others? One is willing to be beaten and the other is willing to be beaten, right?" Long Chang knocked on their heads and walked towards Zhou Zihao. He had only taken 2 steps forward when he saw Zhou Zihao suddenly take a step back, as if he was extremely scared. Long Chang frowned and said in a low voice, "Are you the guy who just called?" Zhou Zihao calmed down and said, "Yes, I am." "Where is Xiaman? I want to see her." Long Chang waved his hand and said, "Don't worry. Have you brought the thing I asked you to bring? I need it in a hurry." In the car," Zhou Zihao said, "but you have to let me see Xiaman first. Then I can give it to you." "Damn it. Don't mention that girl. I'm angry." Long Chang suddenly scolded fiercely. Zhou Zihao said in horror, "What did you do to her?" "What did we do? She did something to me, okay?" Long Chang pointed to his ear and said, "Look, that's why that woman bit me." "Bah, I'm not an S&M fan. I can't stand this kind of heavy taste. If my boss didn't want to sleep with her, I would be too lazy to take her." In the car, Lin Feng, who had been paying close attention, heard this and quickly lowered his voice. "Boss? And boss. It seems that their leader may be lurking in the car. Everyone, pay attention to your surroundings." "Got it." And Officer Lin could still distinguish calmly, but Zhou Zihao couldn't calm down. He suddenly rushed forward and angrily grabbed Long Chang's collar. He gritted his teeth and said, "What did you say? You bastards! What did you do to Xiaman? Bastards, I'll fight with you." "Mr. Zhou, calm down." Seeing this, Lin Feng hurriedly reminded Zhou Zihao through the headset. But Zhou Zihao, who heard that his fiancée might be abused, couldn't listen to him. He suddenly roared, "I'll fight with you." Ah! Stun grenades. Zhou Zihao pulled the safety of the stun grenade. Bang! On the road, only the sound of an explosion could be heard. Long Chang and his fellow workers were seeing stars. The sky and earth were spinning, and their ears seemed to be deaf all of a sudden. They could only hear a continuous buzzing sound, and all of them fell to the ground. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. The situation has changed. Assault team, go. Got it. While giving the order, Lin Feng kicked open the door of the car and rushed out in an instant. Holding a gun with both hands, he quickly judged that Long Chang and others had temporarily lost the ability to resist. He quickly rushed to the front of the van and pointed his gun at it, approaching slowly. A group of assault team members also held LS-2 submachine guns at this time. There were a total of 8 people, and they all raised their submachine guns and pointed at the van. The police officer who accompanied Lin Feng to hide hurriedly dragged Zhou Zihao away from the scene, while the other 3 members of the commando team pointed their guns at Long Chang and the others who were lying on the ground. Long Chang, who finally woke up from the dizziness, patted his head on the ground and shook his head. "Aya, what the hell is this? Oh my God! This. What kind of movie are they shooting? However, when he saw the black muzzles pointing at him, he was scared out of his wits. Not to mention, when he saw the commandos who were armed to the teeth surrounding him, he was scared out of his wits. Why did he suddenly hear a bang and see such a strange scene when he woke up? F***CK. What is this? Did I encounter the legendary time travel? But this start is a bit ridiculous. At this time, a SALT team member suddenly opened the door of the van, then quickly turned around and said, "Captain Lin, this is empty. No one, no weapons." Empty? Lin Feng was stunned. Luocio looked away from the side. This was a riverbank. What was that sound? Old Feng looked at the boss in front of him nervously. He didn't know how he came here. Just in a moment, he came here directly from his home. It was exactly the same as when he suddenly came to the street from the prison. He never doubted the ability of the boss. Boss Luo shook his head with a little disdain, but his voice was still calm. "It's nothing, it's just a blunder." He suddenly pointed to the front. "Your daughter is there, behind that stone." Hearing his daughter's news, Old Feng couldn't care less about the Oolong Opera. He stepped on the stones on the riverbank and staggered to the back of the big rock. Behind the stone, Tao Xiaoman was there. She was soaked all over and half of her body was still immersed in the river. Her body leaned against the stone as if she had fainted. "Xiaoman! Xiaoman!" Old Feng couldn't care less. He hurriedly pulled her up and shouted anxiously, "How could my daughter be like this?" Miss Xiaoman accidentally fell down when she ran. Luocio pointed to a slope above the river. She fainted when she fell down, and the river washed her here. "Don't worry, she's not in danger. She just fainted temporarily." Old Feng let out a sigh of relief. But when he was about to say something, the boss suddenly waved his hand. The scene in front of Old Feng changed again. This place looked like a cave. He subconsciously looked around and found his daughter was still here. Then he was a little relieved, but he was puzzled. "Why did you bring us here?" The club's boss said slowly, "Well, old man, you can rest here for a while. I'll go take care of some things. But don't worry, it won't take too long. Besides, don't you want to talk with your daughter? It's a rare opportunity." Old Feng clearly felt that Tao Xiaoman's body moved. It seemed that she was about to wake up. Old Feng was shocked. No. I can't let her see me now. Miss Xiaoman won't be able to see anything for the time being. Don't worry. What do you mean? Boss Luo's figure began to fade away. "Sir, I'm sorry to have caused you and your daughter trouble. This is a little mistake on our side. So, this is a small compensation." He had already disappeared. Old Feng was stunned and heard Tao Xiaoman's weak and frightened voice. Who's here? I can't see anything. It's so dark here." Old Feng waved his hand in front of Tao Xiaoman. Though it was a little dark in the cave, it was not impossible to see anything. Chapter 397. Of course, Long Chong didn't travel through time, but he squatted on the ground and put his hands on his head. Well, this action reminded Chang Zi of his past. But in the past, at most, he was held up with batons and not submachine guns. Officer, I really don't know anything about kidnapping. Just like what I said earlier, I'm just helping someone to bring a woman to prison. I've told you everything. I'm not a kidnapper. I'm innocent." They were still on the highway. Everyone from the police station, including Zhou Zihao, Long Chong's gang, and the van that broke down. "Officer Lin, I've called the prison. There's a prisoner named Fatty Zhang in there. And Long Chong did visit the prison many times." Officer Lin. Lin Feng felt embarrassed. According to Long Chong's words, this might not be a vicious kidnapping case. Could it be that he had made a mistake? If it was really a mistake, Lin Feng imagined that Officer Ma would come back from his vacation and heavily slap the folder in front of him like the immovable Wisdom King and scold him, "Are you retarded?" Lin Feng suddenly quivered. Not a kidnapping? Then why did you take her to the car? Are you going to tell me or not? Lin Feng frowned and slapped Long Chong's head. Well, I thought this girl pretended to be virtuous and wanted a high price. Long Chong told the truth. Officer, you don't know that many girls are like this. They say they don't want at the beginning, but they still take off their pants at the end. I'm in a hurry to visit her, so I don't have time to talk to her. Lin Feng snorted. You'd better tell the truth. Don't talk nonsense with me here. Officer, I'm innocent. Long Chong said with a bitter face. You said it's a kidnapping. How can I be so stupid to ask for ransom in such a place? If I kidnap her, I don't need to come to such a desolate place. I heard with my own ears that you wanted $8 million as ransom. 8 million yuan. Do you still want to deny it? Long Chong was stunned. What 8 million yuan? I'm talking about 800, okay? 800? Lin Feng was stunned. He gestured with his thumb and index finger. 800? 800. Sir, that woman bit my ear. I want 800 yuan for the medical fee. It's not much. Look at my ear. Long Chong cried. Sir, I'm innocent. If you don't believe me, you can ask Fatty Zhang. It was really him who asked me to take her to prison. Officer Lin, what should we do now? A team member walked over and asked. Lin Feng looked at the sky and suddenly asked, What's the situation with Zhou Zihao? He woke up and is resting in the car now. The team member continued, If what Long Chong said is true, Tao Shiman might be hiding nearby. Shall we send the search team over? Yes, call him. Lin Feng nodded. We're not far from Chao Yun prison. Take some people with you to find Fatty Zhang and ask him what's going on. No. Tell the prison to bring Fatty Zhang here directly. I want to see him face to face with Long Chong so we don't have to run back and forth. It's so troublesome. Yes, sir. Is there anyone here? Where is this place? Tao Shiman shrank her body and said in a trembling voice. Her clothes were all wet and her face was pale because of the coldness in the cave. You can wear this coat first. Old Feng sighed and took off his coat. He lowered his voice and said, Don't come over. Who are you? Where is this place? Tao Shiman said in a panic and got up. But the moment she stood up, she felt a sharp pain in her ankle and fell to the ground. Seeing this, Old Feng hurriedly helped her up. You must have sprained your ankle. Don't move. Old Feng said in a low voice, Don't be afraid, I'm not a bad guy. I live nearby. When I was fishing by the river, I saw you fell on the river bank and fainted, so I pulled you up. Tao Xiaoman tried her best to recall that she accidentally slipped down a slope. It seemed that she did fall into the water. Did you really save me? But she was still not sure if it was the person in front of her. She could not see anything, only hear sounds. Don't worry, I'm not a bad guy. Old Feng sighed. I'm just an old man with nothing to do. If you don't believe me, you can touch my hand and see. He gently grabbed Tao Xiaoman's hand. You can touch my hand or my face. I'm not as strong as you. This was a hand full of wrinkles. It was a bit withered and the skin wrapped around the bones. As for that face, it was even rougher and had prickly roots. Put on your coat first. Don't catch a cold. Old Feng whispered to Tao Xiaoman, I'll make a fire for you to warm up. Thank you, Grandpa. Tao Xiaoman nodded. Her mind told her that she shouldn't believe him so easily. She wasn't even sure if the other party was really just an old man like she had said. There were many ways to disguise, but she didn't know why. But when she touched the hand of the person who spoke, she unexpectedly felt a familiar feeling, a kind of stable feeling, as if she had suddenly settled down, began to spread in her heart. She was still a little cold, but she didn't know why she felt warm in her heart. She even had a strange feeling. It was a wonderful feeling of closeness. It's okay. Old Feng looked around and didn't find anything that could be used to make a fire. He didn't smoke, so he didn't have the habit of carrying a lighter. But when Old Feng walked out of the cave, he saw a pile of dried twigs and dry leaves beside them. There was also a lighter. It seemed that he had prepared it for a long time. Old Feng looked around strangely. Maybe the boss had prepared it for a long time. Old Feng didn't think that it was troublesome for the boss to send him and Tao Xiaomon back, but he and Tao Xiaomon were left in this place. Old Feng didn't know what the boss was going to do. He had mixed feelings at this moment, but it was really difficult for him to take Tao Xiaomon, who was temporarily blind, to find the direction to leave this place. It was completely dark and there was no one around. Tao Xiaomon sprained her ankle and couldn't move freely. It would be more dangerous to move in this place at night. The firewood made a crackling sound and the heat spread to Tao Xiaomon's feet. She subconsciously asked, "Grandpa, have you made a fire? Why is it still so dark?" "Miss, the fire is really burning. You can come closer if you don't believe me." "But why can't I see anything?" Old Feng thought for a while and remembered the boss's words. He hesitated and said, "Miss, when I pulled you up, I found your forehead was injured. Could it be that you've hit your head? Can't you see anything?" Tao Xiaomon touched her forehead. It was indeed painful, but she didn't notice it until now because she was too panicked. "I can't see. I can't see. I can't see. How could this be? How could this be?" Tao Xiaomon began to cry in panic and fear. Old Feng was heartbroken and comforted her at once. "Miss, don't worry. I think your eyes are fine. You just can't see for a while. It's often said on TV that sometimes when the nerves are pressed by blood clots, you will lose your sight for a while and recover gradually. Don't be afraid, I'll be with you. Don't be afraid." Old Feng's last sentence was filled with determination. Tao Xiaomon really calmed down. She bent her knees and hugged her arms, sitting there quietly. It was very quiet in the cave except for the sound of burning firewood. "Old Feng, are you still there?" Tao Xiaomon asked with hesitation. "Yes, I'm here. I'm a little scared. Can you talk with me?" Tao Xiaomon smiled bitterly. "I don't know why, but I feel relieved when I hear your voice." "Really?" Old Feng's nose twitched, but he silently broke the twigs and threw them into the fire. "Old Feng, where is this place?" "Oh, it's a village nearby." Old Feng thought for a while. "I've lived here since I was a child. I only know this place is called Wadi." "You haven't gone out before?" Tao Xiaomon was surprised. Old Feng shook his head and sighed. "Sometimes I don't want to go out after staying in a place for a long time. Besides, there's no place for me to stay." "Why?" Tao Xiaomon was curious. "Old Feng, where's your family?" "Family?" Old Feng was silent for a while. "My wife passed away long ago, but I still have a daughter. I haven't seen her for a long time." Tao Xiaomon apologized. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked this." "It's okay." Old Feng shook his head and looked at Tao Xiaomon. Her face reminded him of his wife, who had passed away. Old Feng stared at the screen with tears rolling down his cheeks. "Old Feng? Old Feng? Are you still there?" Tao Xiaomon reached out her hand and looked a little nervous. "Old Feng?" "Yes, I'm here." Old Feng hurriedly said, "Don't be afraid, miss. By the way, you can sit here for a while. I saw a wild fruit tree. Let me pick a fruit for you. I think you're hungry." "Old Feng, I'm not hungry." "Old Feng? Old Feng?" She heard the sound of footsteps slowly going away. Tao Xiaomon began to curl up. She couldn't see anything and couldn't move because of the cold. She couldn't even see the light in front of the fire. How could she not be afraid? She felt like a lost and helpless child. It was a terrible experience. She didn't expect that she would have such an experience again in her life. She remembered that when she was a child, she secretly followed a neighbor's child out to play. Then she lost her way and could only stay by the roadside. She slowly closed her eyes. But this time would she be found again? Chapter 398. Of course, Old Feng was not the only one. Every time he visited the prison, he could only sit on the bench. But in the past, when Old Feng encountered this situation, he would always be alone. At most, Zhou Xiaoquan would be the only one accompanying him. But this time it was different. Old Feng had a few more cellmates, or underlings around him. "Well, damn it, did you not eat again? Harder." "Old Feng." Of course. It was Tei Yinzi's version of Old Feng. He was enjoying the service of his cellmates with his eyes closed. Don't get me wrong, the so-called service here was a very serious behavior. Why did you stop? But the hand on Tae-in-zi's shoulder suddenly stopped. This made Tae-in-zi feel something was wrong. He opened his eyes, and when he was about to scold him, he suddenly fell down from the bench. He fell down by himself. As for the reason why he fell down, Tae-in-zi hurriedly got up from the ground. He didn't have the majesty of dozens of cabin chiefs. He said respectfully, "I didn't know Miss Yi was here. Please forgive me for not coming out to meet you." This tone was not a problem for Tae-in-zi, an old guy from 500 years ago. It was not a problem for Miss Servant Girl who had met ancient people. So Miss Servant Girl said with a smile, "Tae-in-zi, I've studied the Eastern culture. People like you are called local emperors? Tae-in-zi, how are you doing in such a remote place?" This. Tae-in-zi glanced at his cellmates, who didn't move at all. Time was still flowing, but their bodies and minds were in a state of temporary rigidity. Tae-in-zi's forehead was full of cold sweat. He explained, "Yi, don't get me wrong. Don't be fooled by the actions of these flirtatious bitches. They are the ones who are sticking to me. This old Taoist is loyal and devoted to my master. The sun and moon can be our witness." Yi said indifferently, "Since you're so loyal, then you should properly solve the problem later. Remember not to speak carelessly and waste master's resources." Yes. Tae-in-zi hurriedly nodded his head in agreement. Then he paused and raised his head. Wasting resources? Please enlighten me, Miss Yi. Miss Maid squinted and said softly, "Tae-in-zi, don't you know that master is in a bad mood because of you?" Tae-in-zi said in shock, "You Miss Yi this. What the hell is going on?" Miss Maid said indifferently, "Tae-in-zi, you have to ask your good disciple." Disciple? Tae-in-zi was taken aback. He asked cautiously, "Which one?" "Do you have many disciples?" Yi answered without asking. Tae-in-zi shook his head and said, "No, I'm clean. How can I have any disciple? There must be some misunderstanding." Yi said indifferently, "Listen, you know that Fatty Zhang wanted to please his master by arresting Tao Xiaoman and sending her to prison." "Oh, I see." Tae-in-zi nodded and stroked his beard. He nodded and said, "Well, this Fatty Zhang is really considerate. Not bad. After a while, Tae-in-zi reacted and his face changed greatly. What the F***CK? It was late at night. Tents were set up on the road. A group of search team members began to search along both sides of the road. Even helicopters were launched because of the dark sky. At this time, 2 cars were coming from afar. One was a police car and the other was a prison van used to transport prisoners. Officer Lin hurriedly walked over with bread in his mouth and looked at them. "Didn't I ask you to bring Fatty Zhang here? Why did you bring so many people here?" At this time, the police officer who led the team to the prison stepped forward and pulled Lin Feng aside, whispering, "Officer Lin, you have to be mentally prepared." "What?" "Officer Lin, I think we've made a big mistake this time. Speak clearly." Lin Feng was still relatively calm, even though he had already vaguely guessed the answer. The policeman sighed and said, "That's Fatty Zhang, the old man next to him is Feng Guichen, and the prisoner with glasses is Zhou Xiaoquan. The one next to him is Zhou Xiaopeng, Zhou Xiaoquan's younger brother." "Officer Lin, listen to me, it's like this." Officer Lin Feng couldn't move his mouth while chewing bread. When the policeman told him the whole story, Lin Feng still didn't understand and asked, "Just to be apprenticed?" "Yes, just to be apprenticed." "Officer Lin, what's wrong with you?" "Officer Lin, don't scare me." The policeman hurriedly supported Lin Feng, but Officer Lin's legs seemed to be soft all of a sudden, and he seemed to be drunk. "Wait, you said Xiaoman is the old man's daughter?" Unexpectedly, Zhou Zihao's voice suddenly came from behind. It turned out that he had heard the conversation between Lin Feng and his subordinates. "How is it possible? Xiaoman's father is not." No, Shaman is indeed adopted. The policeman shrugged. Mr. Zhou, I've checked the household registration information. Feng Guichun did have a daughter named Feng Xiaman before he was imprisoned. Her age is exactly the same as your fiancé. As for the specific evidence, we still need to investigate the information of that welfare organization. But to make it simple, you can ask Tao Xiaman's current parents. This is the fastest way. Zhou Zihao was silent for a moment and shook his head. No, it's probably true. He couldn't help but think of Tao Xiaman. She didn't mention anything about her past. As for the two elders of the Tao family, they didn't mention much. It seemed to be a taboo. But there was one thing that Zhou Zihao didn't understand. He took a deep breath and frowned, walking to the prisoners who were escorted by the prison guards. He looked at this Feng Guichun up and down. Obviously, this Feng Guichun was also looking at him. But Zhou Zihao felt that this Feng Guichun didn't know him at all. Zhou Zihao called out tentatively, Master? Zhou, what did you say? You don't know me? Zhou Zihao whispered again. Why should I know you? Zhou Zihao frowned and politely asked the prison guard next to him, Brother, may I ask if this old man has been in prison all this time and has never come out? The prison guard saw that Zhou Zihao and Captain Lin were in cahoots and didn't know his background. He thought that he was also a police officer, so he casually said, This old Feng is a murderer. He's been locked up for more than 10 years. He definitely can't get out. Murderer? Zhou Zihao's face changed slightly. Until now, he understood why Xiaman didn't mention it. Zhou Zihao was silent for a while and took a deep breath. He looked at old Feng again and hesitated. Sir, I've seen an old tailor surnamed Zhou outside. Do you know him? What old tailor surnamed Zhou? Oh, I remember. Old Feng patted his head and pretended to be serious. That's my younger brother. Younger brother? I have a twin brother. Old Feng seemed to have opened his mind. When I was young, my family was poor and couldn't afford to raise 2 kids. So I sent one to another family. I didn't recognize him until he grew up. So that's the case. No wonder, no wonder. Zhou Zihao nodded. No wonder old Zhou was so weird. No wonder. He always looked at Zhou Zihao strangely and didn't let Zhou Zihao reveal his identity. He even wore a mask when he went to Zhou Zihao's house. He didn't want Xiaman to recognize him. It turned out that he was Xiaman's uncle. Zhou Zihao sighed and didn't continue to ask. He looked at the old man who was detained by the prison guard from a distance. This was Xiaman's father, which was a little strange for Zhou Zihao. Well, Mr. Zhou, are you okay? Lin Feng came over. Zhou Zihao shook his head and sighed. Officer Lin, the most important thing now is to find my fiancé. Let's talk about other things later. Don't worry, I've sent more people to find Miss Tao. Zhou Zihao could only nod. At this time, there was a commotion in the prison van. Ouch. Boss, don't hit me, don't hit me. It hurts. Meljib. Fatty Zhang grabbed Chang Zi's other ear, which wasn't bitten. He was so angry that his face was trembling. He scolded. I asked you to find someone. That's what I asked you to do. What the F***CK did you do? Kidnapping? I really want to stab you idiot to death now. I will beat you to death, you idiot. You have a bad memory. You can't remember it. Seeing Fatty Zhang clenching his fist and hammering Chang Zi's shoulder, Lin Feng, who had already come over, frowned and shouted in a deep voice, Are you done? Don't you think it's big enough? All of you, stop. Well, officer, I just want to teach this brat a lesson. Otherwise, I will feel uncomfortable all over. Fatty Zhang hurriedly said, Officer, we are causing trouble for everyone. Lin Feng snorted coldly and said, The biggest trouble is you. Okay, don't play tricks here. Even if it's not a kidnapping, it's an illegal kidnapping. None of you can escape from the punishment. Yes, sir, you are right. We'll do as you say. At this time, the prison guard said, Captain Lin, this prisoner has been out for a long time. You see, he didn't go through all the procedures. What do you think? Okay, I see. Lin Feng nodded. Send him back to the prison first. I'll send someone to accompany you, for safety. Thank you, Captain Lin. On the hill beside the road, a figure flashed, and Miss Servant Girl of the club appeared here. The servant girl took 2 steps forward and came to the master's side. As for Luo Qiu, he had been standing here earlier, watching the lights on the road below. You looked up at the helicopter hovering nearby, whispering, Master, Tao Xiaomon will hear the sound sooner or later. Luo Qiu nodded and suddenly said, We've waited for more than 10 years. Give the old man and his daughter more time. The club's boss waved his hand at the area in front of him. Chapter 399. My luck is not bad. I dug up a few wild sweet potatoes. Old Feng said happily, but I tasted the fruit. It's too sour. Tao Xiaomon slowly raised her head and looked at Old Feng. Hearing the old man's voice, her nervousness eased a little. She even smiled, subconsciously. I haven't eaten roasted sweet potatoes in a long time. Old Feng hesitated and asked, Miss, can you see now? Tao Xiaomon smiled and shook her head. Yes, I can see a little bit now, but it's still very blurry like a short-sighted person. Old Feng let out a sigh of relief. He sat down and buried the sweet potatoes in the fire. No wonder you look better, he said softly. Tao Xiaomon stretched out her hands to warm her body and nodded. I didn't know that a little bit of light is so important. Old Feng didn't say anything. Tao Xiaomon suddenly asked, Do you have a mobile phone? I want to make a call. Old Feng shook his head. I don't have one. You're going to call your family, right? Tao Xiaomon nodded and sighed. My fiancé must be worried about me. Old Feng said, It's foggy in the forest, and it's not safe to walk now. When the sun comes out tomorrow, I'll take you out. That's the only way. Tao Xiaomon nodded and apologized. I'm sorry. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have to stay here for the whole night. Old Feng shook his head. It's okay. I'm alone, and I can talk to someone. He looked at Tao Xiaomon and lowered his voice. That's good. Thinking of what the old man said, Tao Xiaomon thought that he was a lonely old man and felt pity for him. Sir, why do you want to meet your daughter? Did she leave you behind? I left her behind. Old Feng shook his head. I'm sorry. Well, Tao Xiaomon hesitated and said softly, Sir, there's no overnight hatred between father and daughter. Maybe you should talk to her. Suddenly there was a clapping sound. Old Feng broke a branch that he was going to throw into the firewood. He said, Is there really no resentment from last night? Tao Xiaomon sighed and smiled bitterly. Maybe I'm the least qualified person to say that. I haven't seen my father in a long time. Why don't you see him? Old Feng raised his voice. Tao Xiaomon was silent. She hugged her legs and rested her chin on her knees. She stared at the bonfire in front of her. Old Feng sighed. Sorry, I asked too much. No, nothing. Tao Xiaomon shook her head. She had been wanting to confide in him all this time, but she couldn't find anyone to talk to. She didn't recognize the old man in front of her. Perhaps it was just a meeting of fate, a stranger, a person who didn't know about her past, and who perhaps wouldn't interact with her in the future. A stranger who was very suitable to talk to in her life. Senior, She raised her head and said bitterly, I am actually the daughter of a murderer. Old Feng's hand trembled, slowing down his action of putting down the branch. He could only slow down his breath at this moment. That was because there was a moment when he found it hard to catch his breath. Will you look down on me? Tao Xiaomon saw the old man suddenly become silent. She seemed to be nervous. No. Old Feng shook his head. Of course not. I only look down on myself. Senior, it's nothing. Old Feng took a deep breath. Others are others, and I am myself. I'm not qualified to judge others. Tao Xiaomon smiled faintly. Senior, if everyone could be as open-minded as you, there would be a lot of things in the world. Old Feng frowned. Do you care about others' opinions? Tao Xiaomon shook her head and said slowly after a while, I don't know, I really don't know. I forgot a lot of things when I was young. But there are always some things that I can't forget. They are like a clock, always reminding me when I'm not paying attention. I'm scared. Scared? Tao Xiaomon raised her head, trying to hold back her tears. I remember that my father was just arrested. They should be the family members of the victims. Maybe they were really angry, or maybe they just wanted to find a place to vent their anger. Tao Xiaomon shook her head, smiling bitterly. Can you imagine that feeling? Every day I was accused of being the murderer's daughter, with dirty blood on my body, no matter the students or the neighbors. They all kept a respectful distance from me. Indifferent, cold, 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 cold. How could they treat you like this? You're still so young. They. Old Feng's heart was bleeding, he said they several times and stabbed the branch into the bonfire. Tao Xiaomon was startled, Senior. Why are you more agitated than me? Old Feng heaved a sigh. I feel sorry for you. The mistakes of the previous generation should be borne by the previous generation. Why should the hatred be passed on to the next generation? Tao Xiaomon smiled bitterly. Yes? Why? Perhaps those who have been hurt can only fill the hole in their hearts by hurting themselves. Inside the cave, there was a sudden silence. Only the fragrance of the roasted sweet potato filled the air. It's cooked, right? Tao Xiaomon whispered. It smells so good. I'll get it for you. Old Feng nodded, digging out the sweet potato with the branch and picking it up. Unexpectedly, the sweet potato was too hot. Old Feng screamed in pain, and the sweet potato fell from his hand. Senior, are you okay? Tao Xiaomon held Old Feng's fingers and blew gently. Why didn't you pick it up later? I was too impatient. Old Feng shook his head with a wry smile. Tao Xiaomon suddenly burst into laughter. She extended her sleeve and covered her palm. Then she carefully lifted the sweet potato and blew on it to cool it down. She recalled, I remember when I was young, my father was always like you. He could always scald his hand with the sweet potato. He couldn't change this bad habit. You still remember? What? Tao Xiaomon didn't hear him clearly. Old Feng said gently, nothing. Eat it while it's hot. Come on, let me break it. Tao Xiaomon smiled and put it in front of Old Feng. Just like that, the two of them ate the simple roasted sweet potato and didn't say anything else. Old Feng didn't know how Tao Xiaomon tasted it, but he knew it was the most delicious meal he had in the past 10 years. They could chat, have a meal, talk, laugh, and see each other. This was the meal he had been looking forward to for more than 10 years. Tao Xiaomon had already laid down. She had suffered many things in one day and was probably extremely tired. Her breathing gradually calmed down. Old Feng carefully looked after the pile of firewood in case it suddenly went out. However, he still had some questions that he wanted to ask personally, so he said, Miss? Yes, I'm listening. Tao Xiaomon yawned. What's up? Old Feng hesitated. Miss, don't you want to see your father? Maybe he misses you very much. I don't know. She seemed to be sleepy, I'm afraid. I don't know how to face him. I'm afraid, Auntie. Old Feng turned his head and saw that she had fallen asleep. He sighed, Xiaomon, I'm sorry. Old Feng broke a small piece of twig and threw it to the fire. It was already midnight. Only the sound of his daughter's breathing and the wind in the mountain accompanied him. He was very peaceful. Old Feng suddenly came close to Tao Xiaomon, stretching out his hand to touch her face, but he didn't dare to get close to her, fearing that he would disturb her dream. Perhaps she was having a very good dream right now, and he saw her smile as she slept. Old Feng sighed and walked out of the cave slowly. It was still foggy outside, but he could vaguely see the shadow of the moon. Old Feng raised his head and stood still for a long time. Then he gritted his teeth and made up his mind. It's enough. Come out. Old Feng said softly, It's enough. Come out. I know you're here. Boss. Hearing Old Feng's call, the boss of the club finally appeared in the darkness. Sir, what can I do for you? Luoqiu asked softly. Old Feng looked at him and said after a while, "Thank you for arranging this meeting. It's enough, it's enough. Don't mention it. I'll give you some compensation." Luocha looked at the time. "Miss Xiaoman's eyes will recover after she wakes up. Don't worry." Old Feng nodded and wanted to say something, but he didn't. Finally, he opened his mouth and said softly, "Send me back? Send me back to prison." Customer. Luo Qiu said indifferently, "According to your transaction, it's not the appointed time yet. However, the transaction has already started. Even if you stop now, you won't be able to get your transaction fee back. But if you don't stop now, I can make everything go back to the original state and you can go back to finish your wedding dress." Old Feng shook his head. "It doesn't matter." He looked back at the cave and said reluctantly, 5 years of my life in exchange for this dinner. This conversation is already very worth it. Besides, I've been on the lookout for such a long time. I've already profited." Old Feng sighed and said bitterly, "I was too stubborn. I just thought about my own wish, but I didn't think about Xiaoman's feelings. Why should I continue to make her happy life a mess? I shouldn't appear in her life again. So, Old Feng walked to Luocha, "Send me back." "I understand. Then, as you wish." When Tao Xiaoman woke up, she felt a little cold. She opened her eyes, and everything in front of her became incomparably clear. She could see everything clearly again, but she didn't see the old man who accompanied her for the whole night. The firewood was extinguished, and the old man was gone. Only the coat on her was left here. Tao Xiaoman was stunned. She vaguely heard some voices outside. Someone was calling her name, and there seemed to be many people. She limped out of the cave and heard more voices. She also saw a helicopter hovering in the distance. It was dawn. "I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me? I'm here." She began to shout loudly. Not long after, a few people from the search team finally found her. Chapter 400. Except for the sprain on her foot, Tao Xiaoman felt that she was in good condition. However, under Zhou Ziheo's strong request, she had to stay in the hospital for various examinations. Of course, Tao Xiaoman was more concerned about her eyes. The result was slight myopia, which was common to ordinary people. Zhou Ziheo was peeling an apple for Tao Xiaoman when 2 people came in. It was Lin Feng and another police officer who had accompanied him here. After asking about Tao Xiaoman's condition, Lin Feng sat down and said, "Miss Tao, we're here to give you a statement and add some details about the case. Is that okay?" Tao Xiaoman nodded and told the police the details of how Long Chong caught her. Lin Feng continued, "And there's one more thing about Long Chong. Miss Tao, what are you going to do? Sue him or compromise? After all, the cause of this matter, strictly speaking, I'm afraid it's a family matter." "My family affair?" Tao Xiaoman was confused. "Sir, how can it be my family affair?" Officer Lin opened his mouth and looked at Zhou Ziheo with doubt. Zhou Ziheo smiled bitterly. "Officer Lin, I'm sorry, I haven't told my fiancée the whole story. She knows nothing." "Ziheo." Tao Xiaoman frowned and looked up. At this time, Lin Feng coughed twice, stood up and said, "Well, let's go find something to drink. We'll come back later and continue. You guys talk first." "My father?" Hearing Zhou Ziheo's words, Tao Xiaoman became silent. Zhou Ziheo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "It said that Fatty Zhang acted on his own accord, and your father, Mr. Feng, was kept in the dark." "Really? I see." Tao Xiaoman nodded with a heavy heart. "Xiaomanu." All of a sudden, the atmosphere became somewhat silent. Tao Xiaoman sighed and looked up at him. You know about it." Zhou Ziheo didn't say anything. Tao Xiaoman said, "Uncle Zhou and Auntie Zhou. Ziheo, why don't we cancel the wedding? I know Uncle Zhou. He cares a lot about his reputation." She smiled bitterly. "I don't want you to become the joke of your family." "Then what's wrong?" Unexpectedly, Zhou Ziheo frowned and said, "Am I getting married? Or my relatives getting married? Tao Xiaoman, have you forgotten how we met?" Tao Xiaoman shook her head. Zhou Ziheo said seriously, It's because of a part-time job at the university's work-study department. Tao Xiaoman, we got to know each other when we worked in the same hotel for a month. At that time, I didn't know you were the princess of the Tao family, and you didn't know I was a child of the Zhou family. He grabbed Tao Xiaoman's hand and said softly, Xiaoman, no one will care about these things except you. Zaheo. Tao Xiaoman lowered her head and put her head on Zhou Zaheo's shoulder. After a long time, she said softly, I think I don't want to pursue this matter anymore. Let's do as you say. Zhou Zaheo nodded. After all, he's your biological father. Don't you want to meet him? Tao Xiaoman shook her head and closed her eyes. I don't know, I really don't know. Please give me some time, okay? Zhou Zaheo nodded and decided to change the topic. However, I really didn't expect that other than your biological father. I actually met your uncle a long time ago. My uncle? Tao Xiaoman was stunned. Zhou Zaheo said casually, yes, your uncle. Mr. Zhou, the one who made clothes for you. No wonder you're twins. You look exactly the same. When I saw your biological father getting off the car last night, I thought I mistook him for someone else. After asking around, I found out that Mr. Zhou was your biological uncle. If I had known that your uncle could make clothes for you, I wouldn't have tried so hard to find so many designers. She didn't know that Feng Guichun had a twin brother who was also a tailor. Tao Xiaoman looked at Zhou Zaheo in astonishment, asking subconsciously, Where did you find him? Zhou Zaheo thought for a while and said, Mr. Zhou told me not to tell anyone where he lived. But now there's no need to hide it. Well, let me think. Oh, I found him at number 33, Lane 2 of Jihua Road. Number 33, Lane 2 of Jihua Road. Tao Xiaoman murmured and suddenly raised her head. Is it a 5-story Tang Tower? You've been there before, right? Yes. How can I meet Mr. Zhou if I don't go there? Zhou Zaheo smiled. Tao Xiaoman suddenly grasped Zhou Zaheo's hand. The living room has been remodeled. The place where the dining table used to be has become a workbench. There's a black sewing machine beside it. By the way, there are many photos on the left wall. Yes. How do you know all of them? Zhou Zaheo was stunned and then patted his forehead, shaking his head. I'm so stupid. Since it's your uncle's house. You must have been there when you were a child. But you should have seen them when you were a child, right? Even after so many years, he still hasn't changed. It seems that this Master Zhou is really a nostalgic person. That was my home when I was a child. Tao Xiaoman wanted to tell the truth several times. But subconsciously, she didn't know how to say it. It seemed that there was something that made her unwilling to tell the truth. She even had an illusion that Feng Guichun really had a twin brother that she didn't know. Ziheo, I want to go there. Tao Xiaoman took a deep breath. Can I go there now? He couldn't refuse his fiancée's request, so he nodded. Putting on his favorite pair of tights, the monk from 500 years ago, the only newcomer in the club, felt that he still liked the feeling of being pressed against his skin. Of course, he also wore a matching plaid shirt and the most important soul, the wig with an afro. Idiot. In the lobby, Miss Qin Chu opened her eyes and said indifferently. Then she stood up and left the lobby of the club. She had stayed here for more than a month, but she didn't make much progress. Maybe she wanted to relax and strike a balance between work and rest, or maybe she just felt that this former fellow disciple was quite an eyesore. But Tei Yinzi was in a good mood today. He finally got out of that prison and didn't have to hang out with those idiots all day long. As for the matter of Qin Chiyu, this old Taoist will be magnanimous and let it go for now. Moreover, after Qin Chiyu went out, the lobby of the club suddenly became empty. Master is not here for the moment. Tei Yinzi narrowed his eyes, walking towards an old gramophone in the lobby of the club. Miss Yu, Yi went to buy groceries. If there's no guest, she'll come back in at least half an hour. Tut, tut, tut. It's my turn to take charge. Tei Yinzi rubbed his hands and opened the cabinet under the gramophone. When he intended to pick out one of the many vinyl CDs inside, his arm was suddenly entangled by something. This time, it was a black rope that entangled him. The rope was shot from all directions. Tae Inzi couldn't react. In the blink of an eye, his body had been firmly tied. Then the main rope was pulled back, and his whole body was hung up to the ceiling. Well, this posture seems to be familiar. F***ck, it's happening again. Tae Inzi blinked his eyes. He saw a note on the cabinet under the gramophone. This is exclusive to the master. Don't move, or you'll be responsible for the consequences. Yu Yi. No. Zhou Xiaokuan felt that his elder brother seemed to have recovered his original appearance. After waking up today, this elder brother ran to the workshop and started to sew as usual. Elder brother, are you okay? Zhou Xiaokuan looked at Old Feng worriedly, asking softly. Old Feng said with a smile, What can happen to me? Zhou Xiaokuan gave a start. No, elder brother, have you? Old Feng shook his head. Let bygones be bygones. Don't think about it. Don't worry, I'm fine. Zhou Xiaokuan patted Old Feng's shoulder, sighing. Elder brother, have you gotten over it? Old Feng put down his hand, lowering his head and smiling sadly. It's the same whether I get over it or not. As a parent, as long as I see my children happy, it's better than anything else. She's doing well now. That's enough, that's enough. Elder brother. Zhou Xiaokuan wanted to say something. Old Feng smiled and said, Come on, if you are free, you can help me cut this pile of threads. If you don't work hard, how can you reduce your sentence and get out early? You're right. Zhou Xiaokuan smiled and took the scissors, but he was a little sad. He might be able to reduce his sentence and leave early, but it was impossible for this elder brother. At this time, a person hurriedly ran into the workshop. Master, you're here. I've been looking for you for a long time. He saw Fatty Zhang running towards him at lightning speed. He reached out and pulled Zhou Xiaokuan up, then sat down. He looked at Old Feng and said, Master, I'm really sorry. I'll teach that bastard Longchong a lesson. Master, you have to believe me. I really want to show my filial piety to you. I really didn't know things would turn out like this. He didn't know what happened here after he left. But Old Feng didn't want to care about it. Fatty Zhang was always the bully here, and his attitude was good. Old Feng shook his head. It's all right, it's all right. I knew that, Master. You have a big belly and can hold the boat. Fatty Zhang tried to flatter him. Then he approached him and said, Well, Master, can we discuss something? You see, although this is a blunder, but you also saw how much I care about you, Master. Every day I worry about you and I'm heartbroken. Do you think my apprentice is good? Old Feng laughed. Yes, good. Right? Fatty Zhang blinked and said carefully, Master, I've been doing this for a long time. Shouldn't you teach me something new? Teach you? Old Feng gave a start and said, What do you want me to teach you? Fatty Zhang rubbed his hands and said, That must be because of your real ability, Master. Just 1 or 2 moves will do. Old Feng frowned and suddenly handed the needle to Fatty Zhang. He said casually, Take this and practice slowly. All my skills are on this needle. Fatty Zhang was stunned. He held the needle in his hand and stared at it for a long time. He said, Subconsciously, all in this needle? This embroidery needle? Wait a minute. Could this be the legendary Sunflower Treasure Codex? Undefeatable in the East? Therefore, Fatty Zhang, who was the former chief of several cabins, suddenly shuddered and instinctively clamped his legs together. Chapter 401. Tao Xiaoman didn't say a word all the way. She was the most absent-minded Zhou Zihao had ever seen her. He knew that at this moment no words could compare to silent companionship. Finally, the car entered Jihua Road and stopped in front of a 5-story Tang building. She passed by here not long ago, but she couldn't go up. Zhou Zihao opened the door for her, but she sat on the chair and didn't get off. Suddenly, Zhou Zihao reached out and carried her out of the car. He smiled and said, It seems that it was right to keep exercising. I can still go up to the 5th floor. Put me down. Tao Xiaoman didn't know whether to cry or laugh. I'm so embarrassed. This man could always find a way to calm her down. Tao Shaman said softly, "Help me up." Just like that, the last time when they were revisiting the old place, they couldn't walk up the stairs. Now, the two of them could walk up the stairs. Even though it was inconvenient for him to walk up the stairs due to his injured foot, he still felt much more relaxed than before. When Tao Shaman saw the familiar door, she realized that she had really grown up. "Mr. Zhou, Mr. Zhou? Mr. Zhou, are you there?" "I'm Zhou Ziheo, Mr. Zhou." Zhou Ziheo continued to knock on the door, but there was no response. He couldn't help but frown and say, "Could it be that he went out?" "Ziheo, touch the top of the door. There should be a key." Tao Shaman pointed to the left. "It should be around here." "Okay, I'll look for it." Zhou Ziheo nodded. He didn't need to stand on tiptoe. He could touch it with his hands. He touched it a few times, then smiled and said, "There really is." "I couldn't find it when I was a child," Tao Shaman suddenly said in a low voice. Zhou Ziheo opened the door easily and helped Tao Shaman into the house, but still he didn't hear anything. The last time Zhou Ziheo came in, he had taken a good look at the living room. As for the room, he didn't want to be rude. "Well, it seems that there is no one here." "Shaman, doesn't your uncle have a family?" "Shaman?" But Tao Shaman held the wall and walked towards the workbench. She couldn't move her feet in front of the workbench. She reached out her hand and gently picked up a phoenix robe. The moment she touched it, she became absent-minded. "So it's already done." Zhou Ziheo walked over. "No wonder Mr. Zhou called me yesterday. It seems that he wants you to try it on. Did he call you?" Tao Shaman turned around and asked. Zhou Ziheo nodded and said, "Yes, now I understand why he was so nervous. But when I dialed that number again, I couldn't find the person. It was a dead number." Zhou Ziheo also looked at the coat on the workbench and subconsciously said, "It seems that Mr. Zhou went out in a rush. You didn't even pack your clothes properly before going out?" "Maybe." Tao Shaman said, "Perhaps what?" Tao Shaman shook her head, "Nothing. I want to wait and see." "Okay." Zhou Ziheo nodded. "I'll help you sit over there." "No." Tao Shaman said softly, "I want to have a good look here." She turned her eyes to the corner, saying, "Help me to have a look over there." Zhou Ziheo squatted down when he saw the markings on the corner of the wall. He knew what these markings were for, so he raised his head and asked, "Whose height are you measuring for? Is it your cousin or cousin?" "It's mine." Tao Shaman reached out her hand and touched the engraving that was just above her height. Her fingers gently glided in front of the engraving, as if she was touching an old man's face. "The same height. Brand new. It's mine." Subconsciously, she moved closer to the corner of the wall and pressed her body against it. Zhou Ziheo saw the tears in his fiancée's eyes and heard her say, "It's mine. It should be engraved by Mr. Zhou when he measured your height last time." Zhou Ziheo thought for a while and smiled. "It seems that your uncle is very kind to you. But it's strange that he seems to have known me for a long time, even though we haven't met each other before. But I only found this old master by following the comments on the internet." "Me too." Tao Shaman shook her head. "I also don't understand many things." "Well," Zhou Ziheo said softly, "don't think about it. Maybe you can ask Mr. Zhou when he comes back. By the way, where is the toilet? Can I borrow it?" Tao Shaman pointed to a place. She was so familiar with this place that she could find the way even if the lights were not on at night. She held the wall and walked to the workbench, sitting down. She slowly unfolded the wedding dress in front of her and tidied up its corners. From the beginning of the measurement to the completion of this step, she knew that not much time had been used. But at the same time, it also meant that in such a short period of time, to compress the long process to this point, how much effort had been put in behind it. There was a row of needles on the box with different threads. On the trash can next to him, there was a lot of crumpled tissue paper towels with a little bit of dark red color. That was blood. How many times had he pricked his finger? Who are you?" Tao Xiaomon breathed heavily. She had a feeling that the old man who used to sit here and pass the threads might never come back. She seemed to have kicked something and subconsciously looked down. It was a stack of packed food boxes placed under the workbench. There were so many of them. It seemed that he had been eating them all the time. I bought them for someone. I made a friend recently. He always forgets to eat because of work. I'm afraid that he can't stand it. She bent down and reached out to pick up the food boxes. At the same time, some words began to ring in her ears. They were the small interludes that she had encountered before. No matter whether the noodles taste good or not, my friend will finish them. Xiaomon, are you hungry? Shall we eat something first and then come back? Zhou Zihao walked out of the washroom while wiping his hands. However, when he finished looking through the entire living room and even opened the doors of the other rooms one by one, there was no sign of anyone. Zhou Zihao suddenly picked up the phone and dialed Tao Xiaomon's number. Her bag and other things were still here, but she was gone. Tao Xiaomon limped into the noodle house through the narrow entrance. The gray-haired noodle boss was calculating the accounts on the abacus. There was no customer in the noodle house now. Seeing someone coming in, the boss was stunned. Hey, miss, we haven't opened yet. It'll be late. But seeing the girl limping, the owner of the noodle house kindly stood up and walked over to support her. Miss, are you all right? I'm fine. Tao Xiaomon shook her head and suddenly said, Boss, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Tao Xiaomon hesitated for a while, gritting her teeth. Sir, do you remember the young man who often comes here to buy 2 bowls of noodles? The boss was stunned. Oh, the one who sells shaved noodles and noodles with toppings. Yes. Tao Xiaomon hurriedly said, Have you seen him today? Today. Not today, the noodle shop owner said casually. I was wondering why I didn't see anyone today. When does he usually come here? Usually it's the morning and evening meal. The noodle shop owner thought for a while and said, Yes, it's the morning and evening meal. But he didn't come for lunch today. I don't know whether he will come for dinner or not. Miss, are you looking for this young man? Sir, can I sit here for a while? Take a seat. The boss helped Tao Xiaomon to sit down. Miss, let me get you a glass of water. No, thanks. Tao Xiaomon shook her head and suddenly asked, Sir, did the young man say anything strange? No, I don't think so. The owner of the noodle house shook his head and said, I remember that this young man rarely speaks and is very quiet. He pays and leaves without saying anything. If you don't have anything else to do, you can sit here as long as you want. I have to settle the account. It's all right. Tao Xiaomon sat there alone. Only then did she remember that she had left in such a baffling manner. She had recklessly come to this place without even thinking about telling her fiancé. But when she was about to make a call, she found that she didn't even take her mobile phone with her. Tao Xiaomon couldn't help asking herself, Tao Xiaomon, what's wrong with you? She shook her head, thinking that she should go back. But just as he stood up, a soccer ball suddenly rolled in from outside the noodle shop. Then a child ran in after it. Then there was a chubby woman. She was a bit angry. How many times have I told you not to play football on the road? You just don't listen. Now you're in someone else's shop. Mom, I didn't. It rolled in by itself. I didn't even kick it. The child complained. How could the ball run in by itself? How can you lie at such a young age? The chubby woman widened her eyes and was about to hit her son. But this child was very clever. Whenever he saw someone, he would immediately hide behind that person. He didn't even care that this big sister's feet were tied up like a dumpling. Chin Cheng, you're so disobedient, right? Come over here. Don't harass her. The slightly plump woman put her hands on her waist, but when she saw that her son had harassed someone, she immediately looked apologetic. I'm sorry. My son has always been very naughty. He didn't mean to. Are you okay? Xiaomon? Feng Xiaomon? You're Feng Xiaomon, right? I'm Mimi. Jiang Xiaomei. 2 women and a child who was drinking soda were chatting in this small noodle shop. You've gone abroad, no wonder. The chubby woman called Mimi sighed. I didn't expect to see you again after more than 10 years. Tao Xiaomon also sighed. She had met Mimi once. Last time when she visited the old place, she recognized her but didn't come forward to greet her. Tao Xiaomon looked at the child hiding behind his mother's skirt and said softly, Well, your son has grown up for more than 10 years. Mimi suddenly asked, Do you know who's his father? Who's? Amu. Chinzimu. That naughty king. Tao Xiaomon was surprised. You two got married. My God, I didn't expect that. Me neither. Mimi shook her head with a strange look, but her smile was very sweet. She sighed. This is probably the so-called impermanence of the world. Just like how you suddenly transferred to another school one day. We didn't expect that either. Nothing. Tao Xiaomon shook her head. Mimi suddenly stopped talking. She and the woman in front of her used to be very good friends, but they didn't see each other for more than 10 years. Perhaps this unfamiliarity wasn't because of the separation of more than 10 years, but because it had existed for more than 10 years. It was because of the prejudice of the parents back then. By the way, why did you suddenly come back this time? I'm going to get married. My fiancé's hometown is here, so I came back to hold a wedding banquet. Tao Xiaomon said softly. Congratulations. Mimi subconsciously grasped Tao Xiaomon's hand, but she felt it was inappropriate and withdrew her hand awkwardly. Tao Xiaomon grabbed her hand. Will you come on that day? Of course. I'll definitely come. Mimi said softly. She suddenly lowered her head. Xiaomon, I'm sorry. At that time, let bygones be bygones. Tao Xiaomon shook her head. Mei smiled bitterly. She reached out and touched her son's head. But I know that I hurt you. Not only me, but also your classmates. We shouldn't have done that to you at that time. It was true. The older a person was, the more they understood things and the more they understood their own childishness. Especially, Mimi said softly, especially after having this little naughty boy. I understand it more clearly. Children's hearts are very fragile. They can hear and remember a lot of things that are far beyond our imagination. There are some things that they might remember for a lifetime. Tao Xiaomon smiled bitterly. Let bygones be bygones. The current situation was already pretty good. I didn't even think that we would have a chance to sit down and chat. Yes, maybe it's fate. Mei said, take me for example. I got married at a young age and became a full-time housewife. I pick up my children from school at this time every day and then go to the market to buy groceries. I live here and even pass by here every day. Who would have thought that I would see you here? Tao Xiaomon just smiled. She felt relieved. Oh, I remember now. In the past, Uncle Fong would often bring you here to eat. Mimi looked around the noodle house. I really miss it. I haven't eaten here for a long time. Sorry I said too much. Tao Xiaomon shook her head and didn't say anything. Mimi hesitated. By the way, Xiaomon, have you ever seen your father? I haven't seen him for a long time. Tao Xiaomon said faintly. I haven't seen him since his accident. Do you hate him? Yes. Tao Xiaomon looked complicated. In fact, I didn't hate him for a long time. But after a long time, I'll be afraid. Don't you want to see him? Mimi gently grasped Tao Xiaomon's hands. I know I'm not qualified to talk about your family affairs. But to be honest, I'm also a parent, so I understand the feelings of a parent. This brat, he makes me angry every day. Sometimes I really want to throw him out the door and not care about him anymore. But I can't stay angry for a night. If I don't see him for a day, I always feel that something is missing. I think it's the same for Uncle Fong. No matter what the previous generation had done wrong, they had received the punishment they deserved. Your mother died early, so he raised you alone and never let you suffer any grievances. No matter what his identity is outside, whether he is a tailor or a criminal, he is just a father to you. Mimi, Xiaomon. Mimi said softly, don't you feel it? You've been living in happiness all the time. You had an accident when you were a child, but you met a kind person who adopted you. You grew up and met a fiancé who loves you. You've been living in happiness all the time, but you don't feel it. Why do you feel that these things are leaving you? Tao Xiaomon wanted to say something, but she found that she couldn't say anything. Xiaomon! Xiaomon! Great! You're really here. At this moment, Zhou Zihao ran in panting and grabbed her hand. I didn't see it. I asked around on the way and found this place. Great. Are you okay? Are your feet painful? I'm fine. Someone is here. Tao Xiaomon shook her head. Only then did Zhou Zihao notice that there was a mother and son beside them. He asked curiously, "This is my classmate, Mimi. Nice to meet you." Zhou Zihao said politely. Mimi nodded and looked at Tao Xiaomon with a smile. Am I right? A man loves you so much. Who says you're not happy? These things, do you still think it will run away? You just don't want to let go of yourself. What did you talk about with your classmate? Mimi took her son to buy vegetables. In the noodle house, Zhou Zihao drank some water and asked curiously. Just some small talk. Tao Xiaomon shook her head and sighed. I haven't seen her for more than 10 years. I didn't know she was so talkative before. Well, maybe she learned to be long-winded after becoming a parent? Zhou Zihao pretended to be serious. Do you feel the same? Do you want to die? Tao Xiaomon knocked on Zhou Zihao's head, who said that she wasn't already in the midst of happiness. Back to the old house. Zhou Zihao hugged Tao Xiaomon and sat on the sofa waiting. It was completely dark, 9 o'clock in the evening and 11 o'clock in the evening. Mr. Zhou still didn't come back. It was as if Master Zhou had never been here, because there was no electricity at night. Unknowingly, Tao Xiaomon fell asleep. She had a very strange dream. In the dream, she seemed to become transparent. She was still in the old house, but there was a small lamp on the workbench. It was probably very late at night. Everything was quiet. There was only a slightly hunchbacked figure in front of the workbench. She was squinting her eyes as she sewed, slowly. On the red silk, golden, auspicious clouds floated in the air, strand by strand. Just like that, she sat beside this figure and silently accompanied him for a very, very long time. Suddenly, her vision blurred and she was transported to a strange place. In a cave, she seemed to hear some words. It was a familiar voice. This dinner, this conversation, is already very worth it. Besides, I've been outside for such a long time. It's worth it. Why should I let her live a life of happiness that she worked so hard to find continue to be a mess? I shouldn't appear in her life again. Send me back. She saw the old figure disappearing, little by little, in the thick fog. She saw herself still sleeping in the cave. She suddenly woke up. A ray of sunlight shone through the blinds. It was already dawn. She was still here, so was Zhou Zihao. It turned out that the night had passed. Chapter 402. Her foot injury was getting better. From that day on, she moved back to this old house instead of living in the Tao's house. It was troublesome to connect the electricity and water, since no one had lived here for a long time. But she had a fiancé who was willing to do anything for her. Zhou Zihao didn't live in his own house either, but stayed here with her. They were waiting for a tailor day after day, but still didn't see him. At dusk, Tao Xiaomon would take Zhou Zihao to the noodle restaurant not far from downstairs. They would order 2 bowls of noodles, 1 bowl of shaved noodles, and the other bowl of topping noodles. Women always liked to pour all the toppings in front of men into their own bowls. Later, Tao Xiaomon would occasionally meet Mei Mei and the kid to buy vegetables, and then they would chat. Time seemed to go back. Time went back again and again. She didn't know when they returned to the days when she was still a little girl. But she still didn't see that young man, nor did she see that Master Zhou. She had to leave the house where she had lived for some days, her former, present home, because the wedding date had arrived and she needed to prepare a lot of things. It was a big deal in her life after all. Tao Xiaomon closed the gate with a bag of luggage. and then tiptoed to put the key in the small gap above the gate. Accompanied by Zhou Zihao, she left. Jihua Road, Lane 2, number 33. Old Feng liked to sit on the sports ground and watch the sunset quietly. In the old man's world, he always thought of himself as the setting sun. He was in his twilight years. His heart was as peaceful as the clouds in the distance. His life in prison seemed to have returned to how it was in the past, unchanging, but there seemed to be some changes as well. Of course, it didn't mean that Fatty Zhang would pester him every day, calling him master and asking him to learn other skills instead of embroidery. Of course, it didn't mean that his cellmates changed their attitude towards him or even respected him. Old Feng guessed that these strange things happened after he left. From Zhou Xiaokuan's words, he pieced together a completely different version of Old Feng's life in prison. But even so, Old Feng didn't feel that something had changed. He had been much quieter recently. Even though he still had to look at that old photo before he could fall asleep, his obsession had unknowingly disappeared. In his old eyes, the burning clouds would change with the wind, little by little, like the ribbons of a grand wedding. Tomorrow, Old Feng murmured. Then, Old Feng's lips moved slightly, and a figure appeared in front of him. He saw the mysterious boss who had given him so much. At dusk, the boss accompanied him to watch the sunset. Suddenly, "Sir, tomorrow is the last day of your deal," Luochio said softly. "If you wish, you can still go out tomorrow and enjoy the last part of the deal. Of course, if you decide to stay, we will still charge you the transaction fee." "No need." Old Feng smiled. "No need. Zhou Zihao is fine, I'm relieved. Her adoptive family must love her very much. Tomorrow's wedding will be very, very good. That's enough." Luochio nodded. He stood up, bowed slightly to the old man, and said softly, "I will comply with the guest's wishes, old man." Old Feng shook his head and said nothing. But the boss of the club said, "But thank you for giving me a very good memory. The following things are my personal gift. Please enjoy, my most respected guest." What? Old Feng was stunned. But when he blinked his eyes, the boss in front of him had disappeared. He was puzzled, but the sky had already darkened. Old Feng knew that he should go back to his cell. But before he went back, a prison guard walked towards him. "Feng Guichen, someone wants to see you." On the way, Old Feng followed the guard with mixed feelings. He thought of the mysterious boss's words and asked, "Sir, who wants to see me?" "Officer Lin Feng wants to see you." The guard said casually, "Officer Lin Feng from the Criminal Police Brigade." "I see." Old Feng nodded and laughed at himself. He did have some ideas, but it seemed that he thought too much. In the special interview room used by the police when they came to question a prisoner. At this moment, Old Feng saw a young man around 25 years old. He must be Officer Lin. "Officer, what can I do for you?" Old Feng sat down nervously. He thought that it was about the matter between Fatty Zhang and Long Chong. Did the police think it was inappropriate and wanted to continue the interrogation? Lin Feng stared at Old Feng without saying a word. He looked serious and even frowned from time to time. This made Old Feng uneasy. "What's the matter, officer?" "Feng Guichen, you are Feng Guichen, right?" Lin Feng asked suddenly. "Yes, I am." Old Feng nodded. Lin Feng suddenly stood up and walked towards the door without saying a word. Old Feng didn't know what was going on. Before Lin Feng opened the door and left, he suddenly said, "Congratulations on your daughter's marriage." He closed the door. Old Feng sat there alone and shook his head. "Congratulations on your daughter's marriage." He wanted to hear it, but didn't dare to. Fatty Zhang and Zhou Xiaokuan didn't dare to say it either. He didn't understand why Officer Lin Feng came here. Was it just to congratulate him? Old Feng took a deep breath and sat there alone. He thought of the child he cared about outside and what would it be like. There were always a lot of trivial things on the night before a girl's wedding. He had to comb her hair, make up her face, and dress her up until dawn. Thinking about it, old Feng was lost in thought. He thought of what the boss had said. There were countless impulses in his heart that made him call for his arrival. There were countless times that he wanted to say, "Tomorrow is the last day, let me be outside." But he didn't do it. The door was opened again. Old Feng heard the sound and asked, "Officer Lin, why are you looking for me? Are you making fun of me?" But there was no one in front of the door. Old Feng frowned. He found that there was no prison guard here, even though the interrogation was over. This was against the rules. The door was empty, so there was no one here. It was like the temptation of the devil. Old Feng felt that as long as he walked out of the door, there would be a free world outside. He could even go anywhere and meet anyone he wanted. Old Feng's heart was beating violently. The tranquility of the prison seemed to be broken instantly. He subconsciously stood up and moved his feet. Yes, he felt that he should walk out. Finally, he walked to the door, but he still didn't see anyone coming in, as if there was no guard outside. But Old Feng eventually stopped and shook his head with a wry smile. Old Feng turned around and walked back to his seat. He said to himself, "Feng Gui-chun, Feng Gui-chun, there is nothing you can't see through. You should stay here, and your daughter should have her own life. She is good, and Zhou Zihao is good to her. What else are you not satisfied with?" Yes, what else could he not be satisfied with? Old Feng took a deep breath. In the silence, a voice suddenly sounded. It was a soft call, calling out Old Feng's other name. Only one person in the world could call his other name. It was Dad. Dad. Old Feng turned around abruptly. This was beyond all his thoughts, all his inner shackles, and all his rationality. He didn't need to be driven by anything, nor did he need to be reminded. Dad. In front of the door, a reflection of Red quietly appeared. She appeared in front of the door and softly called the name that she had agreed with Old Feng when she was born into this world. That was the wedding dress that he had sewn. Every stitch and thread, he would never mistake his own work. And now it was already on his daughter, and she wore it as if she had dreamt of that day and appeared in front of him. Dad. Tao Xiaman. Feng Xiaman called Old Feng's name and walked toward him. Xiaman, my daughter. Old Feng couldn't hold back the air in his throat. He did not know where it came from, but it fiercely slammed into his vocal cords, fiercely attacked his eyes, and fiercely rampaged all over his body. In an instant, countless times. Dad, I'm getting married tomorrow. Can you help me comb my hair? She said softly, and then slowly turned her body, causing her bright red dress to rise slightly. She smiled with tears in her eyes and asked, Am I pretty? Yes. Old Feng nodded. Yes. Old Feng nodded heavily again. Yes. Old Feng pursed his quivering face and mouth and slowly closed his eyes to imprint this smile in his mind. My daughter is the most beautiful one, the most beautiful one. Previous life and present life. You were my lover in the previous life and my daughter in this life. Now, I'll make a wedding dress for you. Chapter 403. Wedding was full of blessings, no matter it was in a normal motorcade or a luxurious motorcade, in a high-end hotel or an ordinary restaurant. As long as it was not a malicious guess, people would be more willing to give compliments. Because it was a festive day. Because it would always appear around you. Because it would always come when you were looking forward to it or when you were confused. No matter when, it would always come. It was the most important day for you and your other half. The bride was the most beautiful one on this day. Her smile was comparable to the brilliance of all the magnificent gems. Tao Xiaman threw her embroidered ball into the sky with her blessing. Perhaps the embroidered ball made of pure white perfume lilies was too forceful, as it seemed to overtake the sea of expectant female guests in an instant. Hey, where did you throw it? Look for it. Looking at the female guests looking for the embroidered ball, the bride couldn't stop smiling, and so did the groom. But it seemed that the embroidered ball couldn't be found after a long time. The groom couldn't help asking curiously, Xiaman, I didn't see the embroidered ball. Where did it go? The bride just smiled. I don't know. It was a happy day, so Joseheo didn't care about such a trivial thing. At this time he saw a young man beside the banquet, whispering, "Shaman, Officer Lin is here. I'll go and greet him. Thanks to his help, we made an exception." "Okay, I'll go there later." Tao Xiaoman smiled. It was indeed thanks to Officer Lin's help that they were able to make an exception and have such a special meeting in such a special meeting room. She didn't expect that Officer Lin would agree. But in life, there were always accidents that you and I couldn't predict and believe at the beginning. Tao Xiaoman's eyes swept through the crowd. She seemed to see a figure holding the embroidered ball and disappearing in the crowd. It was the third time she saw this figure. The first time in the old noodle house. The second time when she had to leave the old house to prepare for the wedding. It was just a simple sentence. He stood on the street as if no one could see him. The world seemed to slow down in Tao Xiaoman's eyes. He seemed to be saying something, but she couldn't hear him from such a distance. But Tao Xiaoman was aware of the voice coming into her ears. "Since you've been waiting and wanting to know, why don't you confirm it yourself? The answer may be in a place that you can reach." The mysterious young man disappeared into the crowd in an instant. Time seemed to return to its normal flow, just like now. Xiaoman. In the distance, Joseheo waved at her. "Sai, I'll be right there." So the bride withdrew her gaze and walked towards her husband. She didn't care about the details anymore, because this was the happiest day of her life. To be honest, I'm still not used to drinking this kind of Western stuff. I can't believe you didn't use white wine. That's not right. At the corner of the prison field, it was dusk. Old Feng frowned, putting down the small cup in his hand, and couldn't help murmuring. Even though there were many things to complain about, Old Feng still drank one glass after another as the club's boss personally filled his glass with alcohol, because this was the wine that was brought from the wedding banquet. As for the stone benches they were sitting on, there were also a few dishes from the banquet venue on them. Old Feng picked up a piece of meat and put it in his mouth. After chewing for a while, he asked, "What's this?" "It's a match made in heaven." Luoqiu answered softly, "It's just brine." Old Feng murmured with disgust, then put another piece into his mouth. Then he pointed to another dish, asking, "What about this one?" "It's the same with white hair." Old Feng continued, "It's just pig's trotters." But he still picked it up, chewing it little by little, and then took a sip of the wine that he didn't know how to describe. Time passed as the old man asked for the name of the dish and tasted the taste. Later, Old Feng said that it was too boring to drink alone, so Boss Luo took off half of his mask and drank the wine with him. To be honest, I haven't drunk with anyone for a long time. Old Feng was a little drunk. He looked up at the moon in the middle of the night sky and said with blurred eyes, "I remember the last time was several years ago." Luoqiu asked curiously, "Can we drink other than celebrating the New Year here?" Old Feng smiled. "Do you remember the police officer I told you about? He would drink with me and chat with me when he came to visit me. But those days are over. This time, you drinking with me reminded me of him." "Really?" Luoqiu raised his cup and clinked it with Old Feng's, looking at the moon with him. "It's a new moon tonight." "Yes, it's a new moon." Old Feng replied in a low voice. His voice was very low and he closed his eyes. After a while, he started to breathe. Actually, he was not used to the effect of alcohol because he hadn't drunk for a long time. He was clearly disgusted with it, but he drank most of it himself. How could he not get drunk easily? The moon started to move to the west. It was 12 o'clock. The time for the transaction contract was up. Luoqiu sent the drunk Old Feng back to his bed and covered him with a quilt. Then he put his hand on Old Feng's chest and got the lifespan they had agreed on before. Old Feng turned around with a smile on his face. It seemed that he was having a good dream. This old man is in good health. He can still live for 20 years. Miss Servant Girl's voice came from behind the club boss. Yu Yi was holding an envelope in her hand. The club's servant girl came quietly and delivered the letter to her master. She said softly, "Master, it's done." "It's done so quickly." Luo Chio smiled and opened the envelope. Miss Servant Girl just smiled. In fact, she had already finished showering earlier, but she chose this time to come. She knew that her master would like this time. There was a black and white photo in the envelope. In the photo, the bride was holding flowers and smiling brightly. Luochio put the photo in Old Feng's hand and stood up, saying, "Well, thank you for coming, my guest." Chapter 404. Sitting in front of the lamp with only the cool breeze as company, then swallowing the essence of the sun and the moon, gathering the righteous qi of heaven and earth. This was what Yang Taizi often told his disciple, Jean Eyre, the correct attitude as a Taoist. Of course, Jean Eyre always took his teacher's words as the truth. But so boring! Since he got back the ownership of the Taoist temple from Blackwater, Jean Eyre returned to the days of doing homework on the platform every day. Since Yang Taizi was seriously injured last time, he had been living in seclusion to recuperate. His teacher said he would need several retreats to recover. Jean Eyre calculated the time and found his retreats would be finished in a few days. Jean Eyre was thinking whether he should sneak down the mountain to play in the last few days. Since he was forced to leave the mountain with Yang Taizi, he had been wandering in the mortal world, seeing the colorful world outside. Although it didn't affect his mind, he was a young man after all. It was his nature to yearn for new things. Since he had never seen through the mortal world, how could he be untainted? Jean Eyre glanced around. Once this thought appeared, it was hard to erase it. But when he intended to put this thought into action, he suddenly heard a noise. He turned around abruptly, only to see a young man on the platform. Well, the young man's blonde hair was very eye-catching. When the young man saw that Jean Eyre noticed him, he smiled and cupped his fist. He said loudly, "Excuse me, is this the dojo of Huan Jindao?" Jean Eyre gave a start, frowning. "Who are you? Why can you climb up here?" "My teacher said there's a magic array outside. Others can't find us." That young man smiled. "Don't be nervous, I'm not a bad guy." "Well, it seems this is the Taoist temple of Anjin sect. As for the way to enter, it's actually Senior Yang Taizi who told me." "My teacher told you that?" Jean Eyre gave a start, scratching his head. "But my teacher is in retreats. How did he tell you that?" The young man looked surprised and asked curiously, "Little Taoist, the modern information technology is advanced. Don't you know that it's popular in our cultivation circle to use chat groups to communicate?" Jean Eyre was startled. He was about to say something when he heard an old voice coming from the temple. It was firm and firm. "Who are you?" The young man nodded and said seriously, "I'm Momo, the successor of the Celestial Master sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain. I'm here to pay my respects to the sect master of Xian Xian Huan Jin sect, Senior Yang Taizi. Please grant me an audience." Bring the guest in," the voice replied. In the side hall for receiving guests, the sage-like Yang Taizi looked much better. Although he couldn't replenish his lifespan, his injuries were almost healed. The old Taoist stroked his beard and nodded. After sizing up the junior in front of him, he nodded with a smile and said, "Your eyes are introverted and bright. Not bad, not bad. Your master has indeed taken in a good disciple. It's rare for you to have such a cultivation at such a young age. Your future is limitless." Momo didn't dare to be complacent in front of such a big shot in the cultivation circle. He hurriedly lowered his head. "Senior, you're overpraising me. Junior just happened to pass by a seaside some time ago and coincidentally met a senior expert. Junior received the guidance of this extraordinary person and gained some enlightenment. Only then did I have a new understanding of the matter of cultivation." "That's your good fortune." Yang Taizi smiled. "The cultivation circle in Kelowna is declining day by day. Immortals are hard to find. I wonder what the expert you met looks like. I'd like to meet him too." Momo said, "This senior is good at retaining his youthful appearance. He looks like in his early 20s, but he's unfathomable. I feel like I'm in the abyss just by standing in front of him. Momo shook his head. I'm ashamed to say that I was defeated by this senior before I could even make a move. There's such a thing. Stroking his long beard, Yang Taizi slightly lowered his head and pondered. You're the successor of Dragon Tiger Mountain. Since you can go down the mountain to gain experience, your strength should be quite extraordinary. But you've been defeated before you even made a move. What does that strange man look like? Do you have any other characteristics? Momo thought for a while. A typical Oriental face. He has black hair and black eyes just like us. He doesn't emit any demon aura, so he shouldn't be a master of the demon race. Oh, there's another woman beside the senior. She's also unfathomable. Oh, Momo then described, this woman looks like a mix of Chinese and Western. She has long hair and is extremely beautiful. Oh, she has a pair of blue eyes like the sea. Yang Taizi suddenly slid down from his seat. Could it be that the successor of Longhu Mountain had encountered that guy? Yang Taizi swallowed his saliva, subconsciously. Senior, are you okay? Momo looked at this big shot in the Eastern cultivation circle unbelievably. Oh, I'm fine. Yang Taizi still looked sage-like. He stood up, saying indifferently, I've been sitting for too long recently, so I got a hemorrhoid by accident. Got a hemorrhoid by accident? Momo glanced at him with a weird expression. Cultivators purified the impurities in their body. Superior cultivators could even abstain from food and drink dew. Who knows why such a big shot would get a hemorrhoid? Futwan, is it my fault? Cough. Yang Taizi coughed lightly. There's so many extraordinary people in the world. Maybe the one you've met is a rare master. That's your good fortune. Although you've improved your cultivation, you must remember not to be arrogant and self-indulgent. You have to know, we cultivators need to follow the prescribed order step by step, like treading on thin ice. Junior will remember Senior's advice. Momo nodded heavily. He still respected these good seniors. You've come a long way. You must be tired. Young Taizi waved his hand. Go and have a rest. I know why you're here. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Junior will do as you say. Jean-Eyre took Momo to the guest room according to Young Taizi's order and ran back soon. Master, I want a cell phone. Young Taizi gave a start. What do you want it for? Jean-Eyre thought for a while. I want to join the group. That chat group of yours. Yang Taizi said indifferently, that's just a plaything. You can choose not to join it. Besides, there are all kinds of demons and ghosts asking for red packets. You're still young. You'll lose your mind if you join it early. Jean-Eyre thought for a while. Then I don't want to join the group. I want a cell phone. Yang Taizi snorted. I told you that's a plaything. But master, you hold a cell phone every day. Jean-Eyre exposed. Even when you're in seclusion. Humph. Yang Taizi flung his sleeves. That's for learning about the outside world and the information of the cultivation world. What do you know? Jean-Eyre accused. Nonsense. You're watching the live broadcast. Don't think I don't know what you're talking about. Yang Taizi slid down from the platform. The next day, Momo took an ancient box from Yang Taizi and left this Taoist temple with Jean-Eyre under Yang Taizi's order. When Black Soul No. 9 walked into the club lobby, he saw the boss pouring water into a small potted plant with a cup. If he didn't make a mistake, there should be a plant called Gem Flower on the potted plant. You're back. Boss Luo put down the cup, turning around and smiling at Black Soul No. 9. Black Soul No. 9 hurriedly came forward, lowering his head and saying respectfully, Master summoned me, so I came back immediately. What can I do for you? But he vaguely guessed that it might have something to do with his performance during this period. He indeed didn't have any new performance for a long time. On the other hand, although the club didn't require Black Soul envoys to come back to visit the master every day, but the new master had come back from abroad for a long time, yet he didn't come back to visit. That was a bit unreasonable. Luaccio took a cup of water from Yu Ye's hand, drinking it before saying softly, "Number 9, do you remember the question you asked me last time?" Chapter 405. In the club. Luaccio didn't look at Black Soul Number 9's reaction, but stood up and walked inside, saying, "Number 9, follow me." Hearing the boss's words, Black Soul Number 9 was a little confused. But despite his doubts, he still obediently followed behind his boss. Miss Maid didn't follow him, but just did her work as usual. She was very obedient and didn't ask anything. But before Black Soul Number 9 left the lobby, he felt a burning gaze from a guy who was hung up in the corner of the lobby. The reason why Black Soul Number 9 paid attention to this guy was that, strictly speaking, this guy was brought up by him. Tae-in-zi kept blinking at this Black Soul envoy whom he first met and followed, as if he was saying, "Master Number 9, please put in a good word for me in front of the master, and let me down, but Black Soul Number 9." Number 9 turned around indifferently, as if he didn't see it. Black Soul Number 9 didn't dare to stay too long. Then he quickened his pace and followed the boss closely. However, he didn't dare to overtake or lag too far behind. Every step he took was very precise. The location was the basement of the club. In the depth of this room full of storage cabinets, there was the boss's exclusive desk. Luaccio sat down and pushed a stool in front of him slightly. "Sit down." "I don't dare." Luaccio said. "You don't dare, you don't want to." Black Soul Number 9 gave a start, thinking about the meaning of his new master's words. But he still couldn't figure out the boss's thoughts, no matter the current one or the former one. "Then I'll overstep." Black Soul Number 9 calmly accepted the boss's invitation, nodding and sitting down directly. Luaccio opened the drawer of the desk, taking out an envelope and pushing it to Black Soul Number 9. "Take this, there's something inside. I think you can help me collect some information about it." Black Soul Number 9 was stunned. He took the envelope with both hands. Of course, there were many things that he didn't understand. Theoretically, there was nothing that the boss of the club couldn't get. Even if he was the new boss and didn't have a rich family, it was still not something that the Black Soul envoy could guess. What was it that required the Black Soul envoys to search for? Luaccio thought for a while and said, "Since I took over the club, including Tae-in-zi, I have seen a total of 3 Black Soul envoys. The rest of the Black Soul envoys were still on vacation, but I didn't plan to wake them up for the time being. Also, I've seen Number 18. Black Soul Number 9 didn't dare to say anything. "I think you're more suitable for it," Luaccio smiled and said. "I'm not sure if the thing I asked you to find is easy to find. Perhaps it will be easy for you to meet them, but it may also be difficult. However, as a reward, I will agree to your previous request." Black Soul Number 9 couldn't keep calm, but he nodded heavily. "Master, please rest assured. I will do my best. I like your attitude." Luaccio nodded. "Go ahead. Open the envelope after you leave this city. You'll know what to do next." Black Soul Number 9 was a very practical type. He nodded and stood up, turning into a cloud of black fog. But when he was about to leave, he suddenly stopped. "Is there anything else?" Luaccio asked curiously. The black smoke of Black Soul Number 9 paused for a while and then said in a low voice, "Master, don't use the power given to you by the club if you can. You have a lot of Black Soul envoys, and we can all be your arms." Luaccio looked at the changing black fog quietly. It kept changing, as if it was revealing the waves in Black Soul Number 9's heart. "I will." Luaccio replied softly. "Then I'll go now." The black fog left the first level of the basement. It didn't stop and went out the door. Luaccio didn't leave the warehouse immediately but pondered alone. It suddenly occurred to him that although Black Soul Number 9 was ranked 9th, he was actually the last Black Soul envoy transformed by the former boss. Along the way, Black Soul Number 9 didn't stop, but went straight to the edge of the city. When he passed by a big house, he took a look. He took a look at the courtyard of the big house. There was an old woman sitting quietly on a rocking chair, covered with a woolen blanket, and quietly reading a book. Finally, he came to the edge of the city. Black Soul number 9 opened the envelope in his hand and saw what was inside, a map. It was the most common map of China, which could be bought on the streets. Black Soul number 9 frowned. After careful study, he found a small red dot on the map. Place name, Jinggang. Mountain. The professor's name was Trev, an Australian from the other side of the ocean. Wang Yuechuan saw Professor Chui Fo in the airport. He wore a pair of round glasses and was a little balding. Not only among Westerners, but even among Easterners, Professor Chui Fo was relatively short. He carried a simple leather suitcase and wore a suit that seemed to be a size bigger than his body. He looked a little funny, but he could answer Wang Yuechuan's question. "Hello, Professor Trev, I'm Wang Yuechuan." "Hello, Mr. Wang Yuechuan." Professor Trev nodded. "No need to be polite. I can't wait to see the ancient book you mentioned." This old professor was probably a person who was passionate about his scientific research all his life. Wang Yuechuan just contacted him according to the method given by his friend. After briefly talking about the ancient book, the professor directly flew over from Neon. It seemed that he directly stopped his exchange activities in Neon. "Professor Trev, please come with me." Wang Yuechuan was also a person who pursued efficiency. He hit it off with the old professor and directly left the airport. Of course, the place to go was definitely not the police station, but the apartment that Wang Yuechuan temporarily rented here. "Professor, are you okay?" In the car, Wang Yuechuan frowned and asked when he saw Professor Trev's forehead full of sweat. Professor Trev shook his head and said, "Nothing. I haven't adapted to the climate of China and Japan. I watched the weather forecast when I came here, but it doesn't seem to be very accurate." Wang Yuechuan didn't care and said casually, "The weather is a bit abnormal recently." As soon as he spoke, he heard the sound of thunder on a clear day. Wang Yuechuan subconsciously lowered his head and looked at the distant sky through the windshield. It seems that there is a storm again. A pet hospital that was not well known in the circle of human society, but had a great reputation in another circle, closed early today as usual. However, the other door had already been opened. Uncle Rat Monster, who was born to adapt to the sewers but often ate the wrong things, was shocked by the scene in the pet hospital as soon as he entered the door. Uncle Rat Monster patted his clothes on his shoulder. His clothes were wet due to the sudden heavy rain. "Little butterfly, what did you do today? Why are there so many patients?" Wasn't it? It was full of monsters inside and outside. Moreover, these demons were all slumped on the ground as if they had nothing left to live for. It was as if they had been ravaged thousands of times. Little Butterfly, who was busy, trotted over, stroked her hair that was slightly wet with sweat, and blinked. "Uncle Rat Monster, don't you know?" "Know what?" The little butterfly monster said, "Since yesterday we've started a free physical examination for everyone." "Free?" Uncle Rat Monster obviously only noticed the word free and said with a look of disbelief, "Lord Long will do things for free? My God!" Luo Dan smiled awkwardly. "It's not Sister Long, it's Sister Zijuan who said that. She said that she wanted to make a contribution to the monster world, so she helped everyone to do the physical examination." "Zijuan?" Uncle Rat Demon was stunned for a moment, and then he asked doubtfully, "Is that the ba that Master Long always says is a freeloader? Does she have medical skills? Is it okay?" "It should be okay." Luo Dance thought for a while and subconsciously looked back. Through the glass of the medical room, she could see that Su Zijuan was wearing a white gown that didn't fit her at all and was familiarly fiddling with the tools in the medical room. Obviously, this was Long Shiroa's gown that she took directly. "It should be?" Uncle Rat Monster looked doubtful, but after looking at the crowded city of monsters, he thought for a while and suddenly said, "Well, can I also do the examination?" "Yes." Sister Zijuan said that as long as you are a monster, it's okay. Oh, Uncle Rat Monster narrowed his eyes and rubbed his hands. Lord Long is famous for being stingy, and there's never such a good thing as a free examination. It seems that it's good that she's not here recently. Come on, what should we do first? Little Butterfly thought for a while and said, Oh, let's draw blood first. Blood test. Okay, no problem. Uncle Rat Monster nodded, but immediately his face changed slightly, and he said in a trembling voice, Well, why is the syringe so big? Sister Zijuan said that to draw more blood, the test will be more clear. Luo Dance thought for a while and said, Rat Demon. Uncle Rat Demon sighed in his heart. He felt that he probably knew what the free physical examination was all about. What was going on with the other demons here, who looked like they had nothing to live for after being raped? Chapter 406. At this time, Su Zijuan's voice came from the medical room. Next one, come in. Don't waste time. Uncle Rat Monster suddenly trembled and said subconsciously, Well, I suddenly remembered that I have something to do, so I won't have a physical examination today. Uncle Rat Monster hurriedly waved his hand and retreated. When he reached the back door, he directly opened it and ran out without looking back. Hey, Uncle Rat Monster. Medicine. It was a pregnancy-stabilizing medicine for Aunt Rat Demon. Don't you want it? Luo Dance's voice came from behind. Another day. Uncle Rat Monster answered without even turning his head. Who would dare to stay here any longer? They would only be at peace if a large tub of their blood was drawn. As the saying goes, don't be afraid of thieves stealing, but be afraid of thieves thinking about you. If there was a chance that his blood type was suitable for the drought demon's appetite, it would be terrible. Uncle Rat Monster didn't think that his small body could support the appetite of a drought demon, although this drought demon only had half blood. Dad is back. Rat Monster returned home at night. It was not a big place, but it was very suitable for living. Of course, it was only suitable for Rat Monster. Because it was a dark and damp basement, ordinary people would feel uncomfortable living here. But for rat monsters, it was the best living environment, because below the basement, there was a sewer pipe that connected the city in all directions. Rat Monster's wife, with a big belly, poured a cup of tea for Rat Monster and asked him to sit down. Have you eaten? I picked up some canned luncheon meat in the afternoon. You're pregnant, so don't run around. Uncle Rat Monster looked at his wife reproachfully. Even so, the tenderness in his eyes couldn't be concealed. At this moment, Uncle Rat Demon's group of children immediately threw themselves at him. The whole family was happy and harmonious. This was a good time to wash away the tiredness of the day. Yes, it should. However, Uncle Rat Monster's mood had changed slightly. Dad, I want a new toy. Dad, can I buy a new pencil case? I have used it for more than a year. Daddy. Hubby, this month's electricity bill is a little high. A sense of helplessness like that of a middle-aged man began to spread from Uncle Rat Monster's body, making him sigh inwardly. Although rat demons were demons that were more suitable for living in cities, they were not much better off than other demons. Originally, rat demons were cowardly by nature and had limited demonic powers. They had always been at the bottom of the demon race. This rat monster had always abided by Long Shiraw's rules and lived peacefully in the city. Although he could not earn much money, he was able to support his family of more than a dozen people. However, recently, Uncle Rat Monster began to worry. Not only was there going to be a new member of the family soon, but the other children of the family were also starting to grow up, spending money like water. Uncle Rat Monster starts to feel that his meager salary as a city pipeline worker is not enough to make ends meet. Later that night, Uncle Rat Monster tossed and turned in bed. He was very agitated, so he put on his shoes and went out. It was still raining outside, but for Uncle Rat Monster, it was not an inconvenience to go out because he walked through the underground pipeline of the city. Soon after, Uncle Rat Monster came to an old factory park in the city. This place had been abandoned, and many factories had been emptied. The various apartments built here in the early years were not many people living here. Uncle Rat Monster walked through many factories and then came to a place where all the doors and windows were closed. He quickly knocked on the door several times. Soon after the door opened, a slim boy with smoky makeup on his face appeared in front of Uncle Rat Monster. Then there were all kinds of noises inside, which directly shook Uncle Rat Monster's eardrums. Inside there were music, psychedelic lights, and all kinds of smells. Uncle Rat Monster took a deep breath and spat out a bead from his mouth, giving it to the boy. The boy with smoky makeup thought about the bead in his hand and then smiled. "Welcome." Uncle Rat Monster couldn't wait any longer as he lowered his head and walked in. He felt that his nerves were much more relaxed at once. Listening to the loud music that seemed to be able to shake the soul, Uncle Rat Monster felt like he was enjoying a full-body massage. He felt that his bones were also beating with the rhythm. Humans had places to seek stimulation and relaxation, so did monsters. Therefore, this was a place for monsters to drink and chat to release pressure. Elysium Bar. Of course, Uncle Rat Monster didn't come here often. After all, the consumption here was not money, but monster power. The bead he spat out before entering was condensed of monster power, which was the entrance fee here. The environment of the city was not good. It was more difficult for monsters to accumulate monster power than to make money. Therefore, for this middle-aged Uncle Rat Monster, he could only come here once in a month or two. Uncle Rat Monster walked towards the bar counter. He just wanted to drink here to drown his sorrows. He didn't want to spend anything else here. At this moment, on the dance floor in the center of the Elysium Bar, a very young woman was swinging her body wildly, wearing hot pants and a vest, accompanied by the hot music on the dance floor. Her every movement was full of temptation. Below the dance floor, some of the demons who had slightly revealed the special features of the demon race because of their drunkenness cheered even more passionately. A cup of fiery salamander. Uncle Rat Monster sat down and withdrew his gaze from the dance floor. He propped his legs on the bar counter and looked at the bartender, a boar monster. "Is this the new dancer? I haven't seen her before. What's her background?" "Her?" The boar bartender poured the red liquid into the cup and said, "She's not a dancer. Like you, she's here to have fun. But I don't know what her background is. According to the rule here, we don't ask about guests' backgrounds." "Really?" Uncle Rat Monster shrugged. He drank the fiery salamander wine and narrowed his eyes, clicking his tongue in amazement. "But this girl is really hot." "What? You're such a coward. You dare to have ideas?" The boar bartender disdainfully said, "I'm not against you. Look at the dance floor. 8 out of 10 people want to have ideas about her, but they are all well-behaved. They only dare to look but don't dare to move." "Oh." Uncle Rat Monster stretched his neck. He liked to listen to gossip. The boar bartender came closer and said seriously, "I only know that she appeared in this half a year. She came here once or twice. Including today, it's the 3rd time. It's not surprising that you haven't met her before. But this girl is not easy to deal with. Just like last time, there was a reckless person who went to harass her. But what do you think happened afterwards?" "What happened?" The wild boar bartender suddenly put an ice bucket in front of Uncle Rat Monster heavily as he pointed at the ice inside. "Look, it's like this. It's been turned into ice and will break into pieces the moment you touch it." Uncle Rat Monster immediately shrunk his neck. He was at the lowest level of monster power, so he had a lot of scruples when hearing such a sharp foreign monster. Directly turned into ice. "What kind of monster is she?" The boar bartender shrugged and said, "I don't know, but I heard that her name is Lizzie." Uncle Rat Monster nodded and remembered the name. He didn't ask more, but lowered his head and began to think about his real purpose of coming here, a monster and drinking alone. One more glass. After only 10 minutes, Uncle Rat Monster was already a little drunk and finished 5 glasses of fiery salamander wine in front of him. "You seem to have something on your mind?" the boar bartender asked curiously while wiping the glasses. Uncle Rat Monster raised his head and gave him a smile. He burped and said, You don't understand, you don't understand, you don't understand. Tell me. Uncle Rat Monster shook his head and said, I want to ask you a question. Tell me, burp, tell me, is there any way to make a lot of money quickly and safely without breaking Lord Long's rules? The bartender suddenly approached and whispered, There are many ways to make money quickly and safely, but there are not many ways to make money without breaking Lord Long's rules. Uncle Rat Monster was stunned and said drunkenly, Not many, how many?